Your grandmother fed a family of 6 on what you spend on a single Starbucks latte. In the 1960s, while you were complaining about having nothing to eat, working families were turning ketchup into pasta sauce, crackers into pizza crust, and mystery canned meat into gourmet sandwiches. These 100 forgotten dinners reveal the shocking truth about how America really ate, and you'll never look at your overpriced takeout the same way again. Monkey meat sandwiches. Picture this, a can of corned beef, the metal lid giving that satisfying plink as you pop it open. You'd mash the salty pink meat with a big spoonful of mayonnaise for creaminess and a squirt of yellow mustard for tangy zip. Spread it thick between 2 slices of soft white Wonder Bread, the kind that's squished in your hand. Sometimes a slice of dill pickle or handful of potato chips went on the side, adding sour crunch or salty snap. No cooking, no fuss, just a sandwich that came together in minutes. Moms loved it for its speed. Kids loved it for its taste. It often showed up in lunchboxes tucked next to an apple and thermos of milk, fueling kids through schoolyard games. The name, maybe a playful trick to get picky eaters to bite, or a nod to the mystery of canned meat. Nobody asked too many questions back then. Corned beef was a holdover from World War II when it fed soldiers and civilians during rationing. Post-war, it stuck around, cheap, shelf-stable, ready to go. For 69 cents, you could feed the whole family something that actually tasted good, transforming mystery meat into comfort food that satisfied hungry bellies when budgets were tight and time was precious. Garbage plate casserole. The garbage plate hails from Rochester, New York, born at Nicktahu Hots, a greasy spoon diner where late-night crowds devoured its chaotic glory. Macaroni salad, home fries, burger patties, all drowned in meat sauce, onions, and mustard. In the 1960s, home cooks took this wild plate and tamed it into a garbage plate casserole, a one-dish wonder for families watching every dime. It was the ultimate fridge cleaner, turning odds and ends into dinner. You'd start with a base of cooked macaroni or leftover potatoes, then pile on whatever protein you had. Ground beef, sliced hot dogs, maybe some bacon bits. Toss in beans, a wilting carrot, or that half onion hiding in the crisper. Mix it all with a can of tomato sauce or gravy if you had it, spread it in a dish, and bake till it bubbled. A squiggle of ketchup or hot sauce on top gave it that diner kick. Some sprinkled cheese or crushed crackers for a golden crust, but it wasn't fussy. Every family did it their way. The name was rough, but the taste was home. This dish laughed at recipes and thrived on what you had, feeding big families on small budgets with pure kitchen creativity and love. Mayo and mustard spaghetti. Mayo and mustard spaghetti sounds like a kitchen mishap, but in the 1960s it was a budget-friendly lifesaver. Boil a pot of spaghetti. Those long, thin strands were pennies a pound. Drain it hot and toss it with a few tablespoons of mayonnaise and a generous squirt of yellow mustard. A splash of vinegar or pinch of salt and pepper jazzed it up. Feeling fancy? Add canned peas or diced ham from a tin. The combo was odd, but magic. Mayo's creamy richness hugged the noodles, while mustard's tang sliced through, keeping it lively. This dish thrived on lean nights when the fridge was bare and payday was days away. Pasta was a staple, mayo and mustard didn't spoil, and together they made a meal in under 15 minutes. It wasn't gourmet, but it stuck to your ribs, a secret weapon for tired parents. Kids slurped it up, the slippery noodles a fun mess on their plates. Picture a college kid in a dim apartment, water boiling on a hot plate. "Dinner," he mutters, draining noodles and squirting ketchup from a glass bottle, stirring till it coats every curl. His roommate stumbles in. "That again?" They laugh, eating straight from the pot, the sweet tang waking tired tongues. It's basic, noodles, sauce, but it's a 60s snapshot of thrift and taste in every bite. Egg sauce on Saltines. Egg sauce on Saltines was a 1960s comfort dish for when the pantry was down to basics. It's a simple setup, a creamy white sauce made with butter melted in a pan, flour whisked in to make a roux. Then milk stirred until thick, mixed with chopped hard-boiled eggs. Pour that over a stack of saltine crackers and you've got dinner. Salt and pepper were musts. Maybe a dash of paprika if you had it. The eggs gave it body, the crackers a crisp base that softened under the warm sauce. This was a go-to for meatless Fridays or when funds ran low. Eggs were cheap, crackers were always around, and butter stretched far. It was also a clever way to use up Easter eggs, their yolks crumbling into the sauce days after the hunt. The flavor was gentle, a hug on a plate, perfect for sick days or quiet evenings. Families savored its thrift, a reminder that humble ingredients could shine. Imagine a grandma in her kitchen, floral apron tied over a house dress, the stove's glow lighting her face. She melts butter, the sizzle filling the air, and stirs in flour with a wooden spoon worn smooth from years of use. Milk glugs from a bottle, thickening as she hums an old hymn. She chops eggs hard-boiled from Sunday and folds them in, the sauce turning velvety. Saltines crackle as she piles them on a plate, the sauce cascading over, softening the edges. Slumgullion. Slumgullion's roots stretch back to the gold rush, a hobo stew of whatever scraps could be scrounged. By the 1960s, it was a family staple: ground beef, macaroni, canned tomatoes, and onions simmered in one pot. No beef? Hot dogs or tuna worked. No macaroni, rice, or potatoes stepped in. Tomatoes could be fresh, canned, or a desperate squirt of ketchup. It was a free-for-all, a dish that laughed at recipes and thrived on what you had. Cheap and hearty, Slumgullion fed big families on small budgets. The name, maybe from slum stew and gullion for mud, was rough, but the taste was home. It bubbled on stoves in cramped kitchens, the steam carrying beefy, tomatoey goodness through the house. Every spoonful was a mix of textures: soft pasta, tender meat, chunky veggies, a meal that stuck with you. Picture a working mother after a long day, tossing whatever she could find into a pot. Ground beef browns, onions soften, tomatoes break down into sauce. She adds cooked macaroni, lets it all simmer together until the flavors meld. The kitchen fills with savory aromas as her children gather around the table, eager for this one-pot wonder that somehow always tasted like love, no matter how humble the ingredients. It was survival cooking at its finest, proving that creativity mattered more than a well-stocked pantry. City chicken. City chicken sounds like poultry, but it's a 1960s trick: pork or veal cubes skewered, breaded, and fried to mimic drumsticks. Chicken was pricey in urban areas back then, a luxury for Sunday dinners, while pork was the working man's meat. So families got crafty, cut the meat into chunks, thread it onto wooden skewers, dip it in egg, roll it in breadcrumbs, sometimes spiced with paprika or garlic, and fry it golden. Baked versions worked too, but frying gave that crisp, chicken-like crunch. Serve it with mashed potatoes and gravy, and you had a feast that felt upscale. This dish was a Depression-era holdover, still popular in the 60s for its thrift and flair. Kids loved the drumsticks, gnawing them like real chicken legs, while parents appreciated the savings. The pork stayed juicy inside its crunchy shell, a clever disguise that fooled no one but delighted everyone. Picture a Sunday dinner where the family gathers around the table, each person getting their own drumstick to hold and eat. Dad carves into his with a fork and knife, the golden coating crackling to reveal tender, seasoned meat inside. "Better than chicken," Mom declares, and everyone nods, savoring this economical creation that transformed cheap cuts into something special. It was urban ingenuity at its best, proving that with a little creativity, working families could enjoy meals that felt like celebrations. Hoosier Pie Supper. Hoosier pie is Indiana's claim to fame, usually a sweet sugar cream pie with cream, sugar, and nutmeg in a flaky crust. But for supper in the 60s, families flipped it savory, stuffing it with cheese, ham, or leftover veggies. The crust was still that lard-rich classic, rolled thin and baked crisp, but the filling turned hearty. Shredded cheddar, diced ham from a can, maybe some peas or carrots. It was a Midwestern twist, turning dessert dessert into dinner when money was tight. This pie was a potluck star or a quick fix for drop-in guests. It used what was on hand, pantry staples and fridge scrap, baked into something warm and filling. The crust flaked apart. The filling oozed, blending salty and savory in every bite. A sprinkle of herbs or a dash of hot sauce might sneak in, depending on the cook's taste and what they had in their spice rack. Picture a farm wife pulling this golden creation from her oven, the kitchen filled with the aroma of buttery crust and melted cheese. Her husband peers over her shoulder. "What's for supper, honey?" "Hoosier pie with a twist," she says, cutting into the flaky pastry to reveal the colorful filling inside. The family gathers around the kitchen table, each slice revealing layers of cheese, ham, and vegetables bound together in that perfect tender crust. It was comfort food that honored both tradition and necessity. Soured corn soup. Soured corn soup was a farmstead gem, a tangy bowl of comfort from the 60s. It started with corn, fresh in summer, then preserved by fermenting slightly for winter. That sour edge was the magic, giving the soup a zesty kick that no fresh corn could match. Simmer it with milk, a pat of butter, and a pinch of salt, and you had a creamy soup with character. Some tossed in bacon for smokiness or potatoes for heft, stretching it further. It was a way to use every ear, even the ones past their prime. This dish was pure thrift, a holdover from leaner times when wasting food wasn't an option. The fermentation came from rural know-how. Let the corn sit just long enough and it turned sharp, perfect for soup. Served hot with a dollop of sour cream or a scatter of chives, it warmed you through, a taste of the harvest, saved for gray days. Picture a farmer's wife ladling steaming bowls while snow falls outside. The kitchen is humid with corn's essence, transformed by time and wisdom into something better than fresh. Soup from nothing, her husband might say, but she knows better. This is soup from everything: summer's bounty, winter's patience, and the knowledge that nothing should ever go to waste. Each spoonful carries the tang of preservation and the comfort of home. Shrimp Wiggle. Shrimp Wiggle was a playful 60s dish, shrimp and peas in a cream sauce spooned over toast or biscuits. Canned shrimp was the key, affordable even for tight budgets, a little luxury that didn't break the bank. You'd heat it with peas and a white sauce made from butter, flour, and milk, thick and smooth, seasoned with salt, pepper, maybe a pinch of nutmeg. Pour it over crispy toast points or a split biscuit, and it looked downright elegant, a pink and green medley in velvety white. It was a Sunday supper favorite or a dish for when company knocked unexpectedly. The name made kids giggle, but the taste won them over. Shrimp's briny pop, peas' sweet burst, all wrapped in creamy comfort. It stretched a small can to feed a family, proof you could impress without excess. Picture a mother carefully arranging toast points on her best plates, ladling the colorful mixture over each serving with practiced precision. "What's this called again?" her daughter asks. "Shrimp Wiggle," Mom replies with a smile, watching as the family digs in, the sauce soaking the bread, the shrimp tender, and the peas bright. "Not bad for a dime's worth," her husband says, and they all nod, forks scraping against china. It's humble but special, a little wiggle of joy in a tough week when small luxuries made all the difference. Sweet Potato Scrapple. Sweet Potato Scrapple took the Pennsylvania Dutch classic, pork scraps and cornmeal, and gave it a southern twist with mashed sweet potatoes. In the 60s, it was a budget beauty that transformed humble ingredients into something extraordinary. Cook the pork bits, think trimmings or neck bones, mix with cornmeal and sweet potato mash, season with salt and pepper, then form into loaves. Chill it, slice it, and fry it crisp. The sweet potatoes added a sugary depth to the savory pork, creating a golden crust that hid a soft, orange-flecked center. Drizzle it with syrup or serve with applesauce, and it danced between breakfast and dinner. This was nose-to-tail eating, nothing wasted, everything savored. In the South, sweet potatoes were cheap and plentiful, making this a natural fit. It was hearty enough for a cold morning or a light supper, the frying pan sizzle a promise of something good. Picture a southern kitchen where the cast-iron skillet holds thick slices of scrapple, edges browning and crisping, while the sweet potato interior stays creamy. The aroma fills the house, porky, sweet, with hints of cornmeal and spice. Family members gather around the table, cutting into their portions to reveal the beautiful orange interior marbled with bits of meat. Better than bacon, someone declares, and everyone agrees, savoring this unique creation that turned scraps into a feast worthy of any table. Floating Island Dinner. Floating Island Dinner flipped the dessert classic, meringue on custard, into a savory 60s supper. Whip egg whites, stiff, poach them in a simmering broth, chicken, vegetable, or just bouillon, and watch them puff into fluffy islands. Serve them over rice or noodles, the broth soaking in, maybe with a sprinkle of parsley or a dash of vinegar for zip. It was light, cheap, and leaned on eggs for protein when meat was scarce, perfect for hot summer nights when heavy food felt wrong. Families stretched it with whatever was around, leftover vegetables, a bit of ham, making it a catch-all for odds and ends. The egg whites floated like clouds, delicate and airy, a gentle contrast to the hearty broth underneath. Picture a mother on a sweltering August evening, not wanting to heat up the kitchen too much. She whips egg whites in a cool bowl while broth barely simmers on the stove. The whites puff as they hit the warm liquid, creating little clouds that bob on the surface. She ladles them over bowls of rice, the golden broth pooling around the white islands. "What's for dinner?" her children ask. "Floating islands," she replies, serving up something that feels magical despite its simplicity. It's protein for pennies, turning breakfast ingredients into dinner when the budget demanded creativity over convention, proving that elegance could come from the most unexpected places. Corn Dodgers. Corn Dodgers were 60s cornbread balls, a southern staple from pioneer days that never went out of style. Mix cornmeal, water, salt, maybe a pinch of sugar, form into patties or logs, and fry or bake them golden. They were cheap as dirt, stretching a sack of cornmeal into a side for beans, greens, or gravy. Kids loved their handheld size, dunking them in soup or molasses, the crisp outside giving way to a fluffy core. These were born from necessity. Corn was king in the South, and Dodgers kept hunger at bay. In the 60s, they paired with chili or stew, soaking up juices like edible sponges. Over a fire or in a skillet, they cooked fast, their toasty aroma calling families to the table. Picture a southern kitchen where the cast-iron skillet holds rounds of cornmeal batter, sizzling as they turn golden brown. The smell of toasted corn fills the air, while a pot of beans bubbles nearby. Children gather around, knowing these humble Dodgers will make their simple meal feel complete. "Hot Dodgers coming up," Mom calls, flipping each one with practiced ease. They pile them in a basket lined with a checkered towel, the warmth radiating through the cloth. Simple ingredients, maximum impact, the essence of survival cooking done right, proving that the most basic foods could bring the greatest satisfaction when made with love and served with pride. Wesson Oil Potato Sizzler. Wesson Oil Potato Sizzler turned humble spuds into 60s gold. Slice potatoes thin, russets or whatever was in the sack, fry them in Wesson oil till they hissed and crisped, then dust with salt, pepper, maybe paprika or onion powder if you had it. Cheap and sizzling, they were a side for any meal or a main dish when meat was off the table. The oil, a pantry must, gave them a glossy sheen, the edges curling golden, the insides soft but firm. Potatoes were dirt cheap, and this dish made them sing, crisp enough to crunch, hearty enough to satisfy. It was a meatless marvel for Fridays or a quick fix when the kids begged for snacks. The frying filled the house with a warm, oily scent, a promise of something hot and good. Picture a mom at the stove, skillet popping with potatoes flipping in hot oil. "Sizzler's coming up," her daughter calls, sneaking closer to the delicious smells. "Sizzler's coming up," Mom says, piling them on a plate as steam rises. The family crowds the kitchen table, fingers shiny with oil, grabbing slices still hot enough to sting. Better than fries, Dad declares, sprinkling extra salt. They eat fast, the crunch loud, the centers tender, a simple trick that turned a humble tuber into a treat. It's not much. Potatoes, oil, heat, but it's a 60s kitchen symphony, proof that little could be plenty. Pea fritters. Pea fritters turned canned peas into 60s gold, mash them with flour, egg, and salt, then fry into crispy patties. The peas, a pantry staple, burst with green flavor inside a golden crust, soft yet firm. Serve them with ketchup, gravy, or sour cream, and they were a veggie hit even picky eaters couldn't resist. A pinch of pepper or onion powder might spice them up, depending on the cook's imagination and spice rack contents. Cheap and quick, they made peas fun, perfect for meatless days or as a side to stretch a meal. The frying pan popped with oil, the fritters sizzling into shape, their earthy scent pulling kids to the kitchen. It was thrift with a twist, turning a humble can into something special that brought families together around the stove. Picture a dad at the burner flipping fritters while oil snaps and pops. Pea pancakes, his daughter asks, peering up at the golden rounds. Better, he grins, sliding one onto a plate with a ketchup swirl. She bites in, the crust cracking to reveal the peas, sweet and warm inside their crispy shell. More, she demands, and he laughs, frying another batch as the family crowds the table. Fritters pile high, everyone dipping and munching, the green flecks bright against the brown crust. Sneaky veggies, Mom whispers, and they all nod, hands greasy, smiles wide. It's simple, peas, flour, heat, but it's clever, a 60s trick to feed and please. Cabbage pudding. Cabbage pudding was a 60s winter warmer, transforming humble cabbage into something resembling a savory custard. Cook cabbage down with onions till soft. Mix with breadcrumbs, milk or cream, and maybe some cheese, then bake till set. The cabbage turned tender, the top golden, hiding a soft center with just a hint of crunch. Salt and pepper were key, with a bit of bacon grease or nutmeg sneaking in for depth. It was a garden bounty saver, cheap when cabbage was plentiful, hearty when fresh veggies faded. Families loved its warmth, a cozy shield against cold nights that stretched a head of cabbage into a meal for everyone. Picture a farmhouse kitchen where a casserole dish emerges from the oven, the top beautifully browned and the edges bubbling. The aroma of cooked cabbage and cream fills the air, somehow transformed from ordinary to extraordinary through the magic of patient cooking. A mother cuts into the pudding, revealing layers of tender cabbage bound together with creamy custard. "What is it?" the children ask, suspicious of anything involving cabbage. "Pudding," she says simply, serving generous portions that disappear faster than anyone expected. It's proof that even the most humble vegetables could become the star of dinner when treated with respect and a little kitchen wisdom. The dish transforms skeptics into believers, one creamy, satisfying bite at a time. Ketchup and Egg Noodles. Ketchup and Egg Noodles was the ultimate 60s quick fix. Boil wide egg noodles, toss them with ketchup, and call it dinner. Add butter for richness or cheese for goo, but the core was simple. Noodles and that sweet, tangy red sauce kids craved. It slurped beautifully, coating every curl with glossy brightness. This was a last resort meal when the fridge echoed or a late-night bite after overtime. Ketchup was king in the 60s, versatile, long-lasting, and this dish turned it into a star. Not healthy, but it filled bellies fast when nothing else was available. Picture a college kid in a dim apartment, water boiling on a hot plate. "Dinner," he mutters, draining noodles and squirting ketchup from a glass bottle, stirring till it coats every strand. His roommate stumbles in. "That again?" They laugh, eating straight from the pot, the noodles sticky and bright red. "Poor man's pasta," he shrugs, and they shovel it down, the sweet tang waking tired tongues. Back home, a mom might serve it to her brood, butter melting in. "Quick supper," she calls, watching them twirl forks as ketchup smears their chins in messy, happy chaos. It's basic, noodles, sauce, but it's a 60s snapshot of thrift and taste in every bite, proving that sometimes the simplest combinations created the most satisfying meals when budgets were tight and time was precious. Cornflake Tuna Bake. Cornflake Tuna Bake was a 60s casserole classic that combined canned tuna, cream of mushroom soup, and a crunchy cornflake topping into something greater than its parts. Mix tuna and soup with maybe some peas or celery. Spread it in a dish. Top with crushed cornflakes mixed with butter, and bake till golden. The flakes crisped up, contrasting the creamy, fishy filling, a texture party in every scoop. It was a church supper staple or a weeknight go-to, cheap, easy, and preparable ahead. Tuna tins were pennies, soup cans were ubiquitous, and cornflakes added flair without cost. Families loved the crunch, kids loved the mild taste that didn't challenge their palates. Imagine a mom in a checkered apron sliding a casserole into the oven, cornflakes crackling as they brown. "Tuna night," her daughter asks, peeking at the bubbling dish. "With a twist," Mom says, tapping the crispy top with pride. The kitchen smells of warm soup and fish, comforting and familiar. The table is set with mismatched plates, everyone gathering for this humble feast. "Dig in," Dad calls, scooping a steaming pile onto his plate. They eat with appreciation, the flakes snapping between their teeth, the tuna soft and creamy underneath. "Potluck tomorrow," Mom notes. "This will go fast. It's not fancy, just cans and cereal. But it's 60s comfort food at its finest. A warm square of home, breaded pig's feet." Breaded pig's feet represented nose-to-tail 60s eating at its most economical. Pig feet were cleaned, boiled tender, coated in egg and crumbs, then fried till golden. The meat was gelatinous inside a crunchy shell, rich, sticky bites that satisfied completely despite their humble origins. Serve with potatoes or sauerkraut for a hearty, cheap feast that felt substantial. The breading added snap to meat that might otherwise seem foreign to modern palates. Nothing wasted, that was the ethos of the time. Pig's feet were dirt cheap, a butcher's leftover transformed into treasure through patience and technique. It was a dish for those who knew how to stretch every dollar, a working-class badge of honor. Picture a butcher's family kitchen, thick with frying oil's haze. "Pig's feet tonight," Dad announces, flipping them in the pan as crumbs sizzle and pop. His son wrinkles his nose at the unusual sight. "Feet? Best part," Dad insists, plating them as steam curls upward. They sit around the table, the crust breaking under their forks to reveal the meltingly soft meat inside. "Tastes like work paid off," Mom says, adding sauerkraut's tangy contrast. They eat with appreciation, the richness filling them completely. Outside, the city hums with life, but here it's quiet pride in every bite, a 60s lesson in making much from little, proving that with skill and determination, even the most humble ingredients could become a feast. Potato pancakes. Potato pancakes brought Eastern European heritage to 60s American tables. Grate potatoes, mix with egg and flour, fry crisp and golden, soft inside, crunchy outside. They paired perfectly with sour cream or applesauce, balancing savory and sweet in every bite. A few spuds stretched far, feeding a family for pennies while delivering satisfying substance. They were holiday treats or everyday fillers, their sizzle becoming a familiar kitchen anthem. Potatoes were cheap and abundant, and frying made them feel special, a taste of heritage for immigrant families adapting to American life. Picture Grandma in a steamy kitchen, hands steady on the grater as potato shreds pile up. "Pancakes?" her grandson asks, sniffing the air filled with the aroma of hot oil and browning potatoes. "Hot ones," she says, dropping batter into the pan as edges crisp fast. She stacks them high on a warm plate, dolloping sour cream on top. The scent is earthy and comforting, like memories of the old country mixed with new world possibilities. They sit together at the kitchen table, cutting into the crispy exteriors to reveal fluffy, tender centers. "Best supper," he declares through a mouthful, and she smiles, the pan still popping with the next batch. It's simple: spuds, egg, heat, but it's love made edible. A 60s bridge to roots and full bellies that honored both tradition and practicality. Cracker Crust Pizza. Cracker Crust Pizza was a 60s pizza hack that brought Italian-American flavors to budget-conscious families. Saltines laid out as a crust, topped with sauce, cheese, maybe pepperoni or olives, then baked till the cheese bubbled into a crunchy, unconventional pie. Pizza was hot in the 60s, but delivery wasn't cheap or widely available. This let families join the craze with pantry staples, creating their own version of the trending food. It was a kid-friendly project where everyone picked toppings, making dinner into a game. The crackers crisped up while the sauce sank in, a quirky take that still satisfied pizza cravings on a dime. Picture a Saturday night where mom and kids gather at the counter, saltines spread carefully on a tray. "My pizza!" a son yells, piling cheese high while his sister adds ham scraps from the fridge. "Bake it," Mom says, sliding it into the oven as they all hover around, waiting for the cheese to melt and bubble. The kitchen smells of tomatoes and melting cheddar, the crackers toasting below. "Ours is better," Dad brags, cutting squares as the crust snaps satisfyingly. They eat laughing at the unconventional creation, the saltines holding up better than expected. It's not pizzeria quality, just crackers and cans, but it's fun. Family bonding over this thrifty twist on a trend that proved creativity could beat expensive delivery every time. Corn Cob Soup. Corn cob soup was 60s farm smarts in a bowl, turning what most people threw away into liquid gold. Simmer corn cobs after kernels were cut, extracting every bit of corn essence into a sweet, fragrant broth. Add milk, butter, salt, maybe the kernels back in, and you had a light soup with subtle corn flavor that captured summer in every spoonful. A sprinkle of herbs or cream drizzle might fancy it up, but it was fundamentally about using every bit of the harvest. This was a rural trick when corn was king, cheap, plentiful, and too precious to waste. The technique stretched the corn season, turning waste into warmth for cold days ahead. Picture a farmer's wife in a humid kitchen, cobs boiling while she tends other tasks. "Soup from nothing?" her husband asks, leaning in to smell the simmering pot. "From cobs," she corrects, stirring in milk as the broth turns pale gold. They sit with steaming bowls, a parsley fleck floating on top, tasting the field's essence transformed. "Tastes like the field," he says, sipping deeply as the kids slurp the sweetness. The effort is clear in every spoonful. Nothing wasted, everything treasured. It's basic: cobs, milk, heat, but it's clever, a 60s nod to making every ear count. The soup embodies the agricultural wisdom that nothing should be discarded if it could nourish, turning scraps into sustenance with patience and respect for the harvest. Stretch chili. Stretch chili was 60s chili with a budget twist that turned 1 pound of meat into a meal for 8. Add beans, tomatoes, or breadcrumbs to make the ground beef stretch further, creating volume without breaking the bank. Start with hamburger, then bulk it up with whatever was available: kidney beans, corn, extra onions, even oatmeal if times were really tough. Spices simmered long, developing deep flavors that masked the meat's minimal presence. Perfect with cornbread or crackers, it was a pot that fed big families or surprise guests. The art was in making people feel satisfied despite the economics. Picture a potluck where mom ladles from a dented pot, steam rising. "Stretched it," she says matter-of-factly, beans plump in thick brick-red sauce. A friend nods, grabbing cornbread as the room buzzes with appreciation. Back home, her kids scoop seconds from the same pot, never feeling deprived. "Best batch," they say, crumbs falling as they devour every drop. It's not pure meat, just spice, beans, and clever stretching. but its shared warmth, a 60s feast built on making do. The secret was in the seasoning and the love, proving that with the right technique, a little meat could go a very long way. Families gathered around steaming bowls, nobody counting the beans versus beef ratio, just enjoying the comfort of something hot, filling, and made with care. TV dinner revolution. TV dinners revolutionized 60s family, dining with aluminum trays holding complete meals. Turkey, mashed potatoes, peas, sweet potatoes, all heated in the oven for 25 minutes at 425 degrees. Swanson introduced this convenience in 1954, but by the 60s, choices exploded across frozen aisles. Salisbury steak, fried chicken, Mexican tamales. Companies like Morton, Banquet, and Chun King followed Swanson's lead, each offering their spin on the compartmentalized meal. The metallic ping of foil peeling back revealed steaming portions, each food in its designated space to prevent the dreaded everything touching. For busy families, especially those with working mothers, it meant dinner without hours of preparation. Kids ate while watching television. Parents appreciated the convenience despite the cost. At 98 cents each, they strained modest budgets but delivered precious time, the ultimate 60s compromise between tradition and modern living. Picture a working mother arriving home after 8 hours at the office, exhausted but knowing dinner could be ready in half an hour. She slides the aluminum trays into the oven, sets the timer, and finally sits down while her children do homework at the kitchen table. The smell of heating turkey and vegetables fills the house as she catches her breath, grateful for this small miracle of modern convenience that lets her be both provider and nurturer. Hamburger Helper before Helper. Boxed meal kits combined pasta with seasoning packets before the famous Hamburger Helper brand launched in 1971. These early versions stretched ground beef into family-sized meals with simple instructions and maximum impact. Noodles, powder, a pound of meat, and water created dinner for 6 hungry people. The concept was brilliant. Take expensive protein and make it feed more mouths with cheap carbohydrates and flavor packets. Busy mothers loved the simplicity. Brown meat, add contents, simmer, serve. The salty, savory flavors masked the fact that meat was minimal while creating something that tasted rich and satisfying. Kids devoured the cheesy, noodle-heavy results, while parents counted the savings in their heads. Picture a working mother browning hamburger after a long day, the kitchen filling with familiar aromas. She tears open the box, dumps in noodles and powder, adds water, and watches it transform into something that looks like a real meal. Her children gather around the table, excited for what they see as a treat. Pasta with meat sauce that tastes restaurant quality to their young palates. "More, please," they ask. And she's happy to oblige, knowing that for less than $2, she's fed her entire family a meal they actually enjoy. It was convenience and economy wrapped in a cardboard box, revolutionizing weeknight dinners across America. Spam and everything. Spam became the protein hero of countless 60s budget meals, transforming from wartime necessity to peacetime staple. This canned meat starred in fried spam with eggs for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Its long shelf life made it pantry royalty. Salty, protein-packed, and endlessly versatile. Slice it thick, fry till edges crisped and centers warmed through. Serve with whatever else was available. Spam sandwiches, spam and potatoes, spam and noodles, spam fried rice. Its adaptability was endless. During World War II rationing, families learned to love this reliable protein source, and the habit stuck through the economically challenging 60s. Picture a tired father opening a can after overtime, the meat sliding out in its perfect rectangular shape with that distinctive sucking sound. Spam again, the kids might groan initially, but they'd clean their plates once the salty, savory flavors hit their tongues. Mom would slice it thick, fry it until golden, and serve it alongside scrambled eggs and toast for a breakfast that felt substantial and satisfying. The versatility was remarkable. It could be diced into mac and cheese, sliced for sandwiches, or cubed into fried rice with leftover vegetables. Families discovered that this humble canned meat could anchor dozens of different meals, making it an invaluable resource when money was tight and protein was precious. Jello mold madness. Gelatin ruled 60s tables in both sweet and savory forms that seem bizarre today, but represented the height of modern entertaining. Lime Jello with cottage cheese and pineapple, orange with shredded carrots, tomato aspic with suspended vegetables. Molds were sophisticated centerpieces that impressed guests. They represented modern convenience and attractive presentation, fitting perfectly with the era's emphasis on efficiency and visual appeal. The wiggly, colorful creations looked impressive while using inexpensive ingredients that stretched budgets. Housewives competed to create the most elaborate molds, layering flavors and textures in clear or colored gelatin that showed off their creativity. Picture a bridge club gathering where every woman brought a different Jello creation, some floating fruit like edible stained glass, others suspending vegetables in savory aspic that glowed like jewels. They wobbled on the table like edible art, proving that even humble ingredients could be transformed into something elegant and thoroughly modern. The ladies served themselves carefully, admiring each other's technique and flavor combinations. "How did you get the layers so even?" one might ask, genuinely curious about the technical achievement. These weren't just desserts or salads. They were statements about domestic skill and modern living. Each mold represented hours of careful preparation, timing, and artistic vision that elevated simple ingredients into something worthy of company entertaining and special occasions. Tuna Noodle Casserole Kingdom. The undisputed queen of 60s casseroles combined egg noodles, canned tuna, cream of mushroom soup, and frozen peas into comfort food perfection. Top with crushed potato chips or cornflakes for essential crunch. Bake until bubbling and golden. Every family had their version. Some added cheese, others included celery or onions for extra flavor and texture. It was comfort food that stretched expensive protein into a family meal that satisfied everyone. The creamy, rich flavors appealed to children while costing mere pennies per serving, making it a weeknight hero. Picture Mom assembling the casserole after work, mixing ingredients in her trusty Pyrex dish with practiced efficiency. The kitchen fills with the aroma of baking fish and cream sauce as the top turns golden brown and crispy. She calls the family to dinner, serving generous portions that somehow taste even better than the sum of their simple parts. The children scrape their bowls clean, and Dad asks for seconds, praising the way the crispy topping contrasts with the creamy interior. Leftovers taste even better the next day, making it a 2-day meal from one preparation. This wasn't fancy food. It was practical, economical, and deeply satisfying. The casserole represented everything good about 60s family cooking. Simple ingredients transformed through technique and love into something that brought families together around the dinner table, filling bellies and creating memories. Hot dog everything. Frankfurters were the ultimate working-class protein, cheap, filling, and endlessly versatile in 60s kitchens. Slice them into baked beans for instant protein boost, wrap in dough for pigs in blankets, or dice into macaroni salad for picnic fare. Chicago-style hot dogs with all the fixings turned a simple meal into complete nutrition for just a nickel. Hot dog and potato casseroles, hot dog soup, hot dogs with sauerkraut. The possibilities seemed endless to creative cooks. They cooked quickly, Kids loved them unconditionally, and parents appreciated how far they stretched the weekly food budget. Picture a mother slicing hot dogs into a pot of baked beans, the kitchen filling with smoky, salty aromas that made mouths water. The children gather around the table, knowing dinner will be ready soon and that it will taste good. She serves generous portions with cornbread on the side, watching her family enjoy this simple but satisfying meal. "Can we have hot dogs again tomorrow?" the youngest asks, and she smiles, knowing she's found something that pleases everyone without breaking the bank. These versatile sausages could anchor breakfast, lunch, or dinner, making them invaluable to families stretching every dollar. Whether grilled, boiled, sliced, or diced, hot dogs delivered protein and flavor that working families could count on. Chipped beef on toast. Military surplus met civilian breakfast in this protein-rich dish that veterans brought home from service. Dried beef in cream sauce served over toast, affectionately known by its initials in less polite company. The salty, preserved meat was affordable and long-lasting, perfect for stretching protein across multiple meals when fresh meat was expensive. Heated in white sauce made with milk, flour, and butter, then ladled generously over buttered toast points. The result was filling, warm, and surprisingly satisfying despite its humble origins. Veterans brought this recipe home from service, introducing families to military-style cooking that prioritized substance over style. Picture a father making breakfast for his children on a Saturday morning, the kitchen filling with the aroma of roux and dried beef heating together. "What's for breakfast, Dad?" they ask, rubbing sleep from their eyes. "Something that'll stick to your ribs," he replies with military precision, serving up plates of this humble but hearty meal. The children dive in eagerly, the creamy sauce soaking into the toast, while the salty beef provides protein that will fuel their morning adventures. It wasn't fancy, but it was substantial food that filled growing bodies and empty stomachs. The dish represented practicality over presentation, nutrition over novelty, values that resonated with working families who needed meals that satisfied completely without requiring expensive ingredients or complicated preparation techniques. Bean and Frank's forever. Canned baked beans with sliced hot dogs created the ultimate budget dinner that tasted like weekend camping. Sweet, smoky beans paired perfectly with salty frankfurters, creating a protein-rich meal that cost almost nothing to prepare. Some families added brown sugar or mustard for extra flavor complexity. Others served it over rice to stretch it even further. It was picnic food brought indoors, comfort food that satisfied completely without pretense. Combination of legumes and processed meat provided complete nutrition while tasting like a special treat to eager children. Picture a family camping trip where this meal was heated over an open fire, or a weeknight dinner where Mom opened cans while bread toasted in the background. Kids loved the sweet beans and familiar hot dogs. Parents loved the price and simplicity that didn't compromise on satisfaction. The dish represented American comfort food at its most democratic and accessible, requiring no special skills or expensive equipment. A can opener, a pot, and heat were all that stood between hungry families and a meal that filled them completely. "More beans, please," became a common dinner-time request as children discovered that simple combinations could create complex satisfaction. It was proof that good food didn't need to be complicated or expensive. Sometimes the best meals came from the most basic ingredients, combined with love and served with enthusiasm. Fried Bologna sandwiches. Thick sliced Bologna, seared in a skillet until edges curled into perfect cups, nestled between white bread slices with mustard or mayo. The frying transformed ordinary lunch meat into something special, crispy outside, warm and tender inside with concentrated flavors. It was a step up from cold sandwiches, but still used inexpensive ingredients that families could afford. Some families scored the bologna in a crosshatch pattern to prevent excessive curling. Others embraced the dome shape it naturally took. Serve with pickle chips or potato chips for crunch, and you had a meal that satisfied both children and adults. Picture a father at the stove on a Saturday afternoon, flipping thick rounds of Bologna while bread toasted in the background. The kitchen fills with savory aromas as the meat sizzles and browns, developing a golden crust that concentrates the flavors. "Smells good, Dad," his daughter says, watching the edges curl up like little cups. He assembles the sandwiches carefully, adding mustard and pickles before cutting them diagonally for easier handling. The family gathers around the kitchen table, biting into sandwiches where the warm, crispy bologna contrasts perfectly with soft bread and tangy condiments. It was comfort food that elevated humble ingredients through simple technique, proving that with a little heat and attention, even basic lunch meat could become something memorable and satisfying for the whole family. Creamed vegetables on toast. White sauce was the miracle worker of 60s cooking. Flour, butter, milk, and seasonings that could transform any vegetable into a complete meal. Pour it over peas, carrots, or green beans, then serve over toast points for dinner that felt substantial. The creamy, mild flavors appealed to children while providing vegetables in a form they'd actually eat without complaint. It was an economical way to use frozen or canned vegetables, stretching them with dairy and starch into something filling. Some families added hard-boiled eggs or leftover meat to make it more substantial and protein-rich. Picture a mother stirring vegetables into bubbling white sauce, the kitchen warm with the smell of butter and milk combining. She ladles the mixture over toast triangles arranged on plates, creating a meal that looks more elegant than its simple components suggest. The children eat eagerly, the cream sauce making vegetables palatable while the toast provides satisfying substance. "Can we have creamed peas again tomorrow?" they ask, surprising her with their enthusiasm for what she considers a budget meal. The technique was versatile. Any vegetable could be elevated this way, making it possible to serve nutritious meals that children would actually consume. It represented the practical magic of 60s cooking, where simple techniques could transform humble ingredients into family meals that satisfied both nutritional needs and budget constraints, while keeping everyone happy at the dinner table. Chicken a la king on everything. Diced chicken in cream sauce, served over biscuits, toast, rice, or noodles. This elegant-sounding dish used leftover chicken or the cheapest cuts available. Dice, small, and stretch with vegetables and rich sauce that made everything taste luxurious despite humble origins. Peas, carrots, and mushrooms added color and nutrition, while the creamy base made everything seem restaurant quality. It was sophisticated restaurant food made at home with budget ingredients and practical techniques. The white sauce mastery that housewives developed could elevate any protein into something that seemed fancy and special. Picture a Sunday dinner where leftover roasted chicken becomes Monday's a la king, served over fresh biscuits with ceremony and pride. "What's for dinner?" the children ask. "Chicken a la king," Mom announces with flourish, making it sound far more sophisticated than leftover chicken in white sauce. The family gathers expectantly, impressed by the transformation of yesterday's meal into today's elegant treat. She serves generous portions over fluffy biscuits, the creamy sauce pooling around tender chicken and colorful vegetables. Children eat with appreciation, never suspecting they're consuming leftovers disguised through culinary skill. It was kitchen alchemy at its finest, taking yesterday's protein and creating today's special meal through technique, creativity, and presentation. The dish proved that with the right approach, any meal could feel like a celebration. Salmon patties, canned salmon mixed with breadcrumbs, eggs, and seasonings, formed into patties and fried golden brown until crispy outside and tender inside. This was affordable seafood for inland families, bringing ocean flavors to landlocked kitchens across the Midwest. The pink fish flaked beautifully when mixed with binding ingredients, creating patties that held together perfectly in hot oil. Serve with tartar sauce made from mayonnaise and pickle relish, or just a squeeze of fresh lemon for brightness. Some families added minced onion or bell pepper for extra flavor and texture complexity. Picture a mother carefully forming patties from the precious can of salmon, her hands gentle as she shapes the mixture. The kitchen fills with the smell of fish and hot oil as they sizzle in the pan, turning golden brown and crispy. Kids might wrinkle their noses initially at the fishy smell, but these crispy golden rounds usually won them over completely. The exterior develops a beautiful crust, while the interior stays moist and flaky, full of salmon flavor that tastes almost fresh. Served alongside mashed potatoes and green beans, they create a complete meal that feels special despite the economical ingredients. The patties represent the ingenuity of home cooks who could take a simple can of fish and transform it into something that rivaled restaurant seafood, proving that technique mattered more than expensive ingredients. Liver and onions, beef liver, sliced thin and fried with sweet onions, provided iron-rich nutrition on a tight budget that conscious mothers prioritized. Liver was incredibly cheap, packed with vitamins and minerals that growing children needed, though not always appreciated by picky eaters. The key was cooking it quickly to avoid toughness, letting the onions caramelize to sweet perfection alongside. Some families soaked liver in milk first to reduce any strong flavors that might turn children away. Serve with mashed potatoes and the pan drippings made into gravy for a complete nutritious meal. Picture a mother at the stove, onions sizzling and turning golden while liver cooks quickly beside them. "What's that smell?" the children ask, some excited, others suspicious of the unfamiliar aroma. "Liver and onions," she announces, knowing some will complain, but understanding the nutritional value she's providing. The liver cooks just until done, still tender and pink inside, while the onions develop deep, sweet flavors that complement the mineral richness of the meat. She serves it alongside fluffy mashed potatoes, the sweet onions helping to balance any strong flavors. "It's good for you," she explains to reluctant eaters, but many discover they actually enjoy the rich, satisfying taste. The meal represents practical nutrition over popular preference, showing how mothers prioritized health over convenience, ensuring their families got essential nutrients regardless of food preferences. Welsh rarebit on toast, cheese sauce elevated to dinner status, served over toast points for a meal that felt elegant despite simple ingredients. Sharp cheddar melted with beer or milk, seasoned with mustard and paprika, created something that seemed sophisticated and restaurant-worthy. The key was getting the cheese sauce smooth and rich without separating, a technique that required patience and attention. Serve over thick slices of toasted bread, and you had a meal that satisfied completely while using pantry staples. Some versions included a poached egg on top for extra protein and richness that made it feel even more substantial. Picture a mother carefully stirring cheese sauce, watching it melt smoothly as the kitchen fills with rich, savory aromas. The children gather around, drawn by the smell of melting cheese and toasted bread. She ladles the golden sauce over toast triangles, creating something that looks and tastes far more elegant than its simple components suggest. "Is this what they eat in fancy restaurants?" a child asks, and she smiles, knowing she's created something special from everyday ingredients. The cheese sauce is rich and smooth, the toast provides perfect textural contrast, and everyone feels they're eating something luxurious. It was proof that with the right technique, basic ingredients could be elevated into something that felt like fine dining, showing how skilled home cooks could create restaurant-quality meals in their own kitchens. Pork and beans casserole. Canned pork and beans transformed into a complete meal through the addition of hot dogs, bacon bits, or ground beef. Layer with sliced onions and a brown sugar glaze, then bake until bubbling and caramelized on top. The sweet and savory combination appealed to children while providing substantial protein that satisfied growing appetites. It was picnic food elevated to dinner status, comfort food that delivered both nutrition and familiar flavors. Some families added bell peppers or corn for extra vegetables and color that made it feel more complete. Picture a mother assembling layers in her favorite casserole dish, the kitchen warm with the promise of a satisfying meal. She arranges sliced hot dogs over the beans, sprinkles brown sugar on top, then slides it into the oven to bubble and brown. The smell that emerges is pure comfort, sweet, smoky, and deeply satisfying to anyone within range. The family gathers around the table as she serves generous portions, the caramelized top giving way to tender beans and meat below. "This tastes like camping," one child declares with approval, recognizing flavors from family outdoor adventures. The dish represents the practical magic of casserole cooking, where simple ingredients could be layered and baked into something that fed everyone well. It was economical, filling, and most importantly, something that brought smiles to faces around the dinner table, proving that good food didn't require expensive ingredients or complicated techniques. Cornbread and milk. Simple cornbread crumbled into a glass of cold milk became a complete meal for many 60s families. The sweet, crumbly bread absorbed the milk while maintaining some texture, creating something between cereal and dessert. It was economical comfort food that filled stomachs when other options were limited, particularly popular in Southern households. Some families added honey or sugar to sweeten it further. Others enjoyed the natural corn flavor with just a pinch of salt. Picture a child coming home from school to find this simple meal waiting, the kitchen table set with a glass of milk and fresh cornbread. The bread is still slightly warm from the oven, golden and fragrant with cornmeal and a hint of sweetness. They crumble it carefully into the milk, watching it absorb the liquid while maintaining its satisfying texture. Each spoonful delivers comfort and sustenance, the familiar flavors providing both nutrition and emotional satisfaction. "Is there more cornbread?" they ask hopefully, knowing this simple combination somehow tastes better than the sum of its parts. The meal represents the kind of practical comfort food that sustained families through lean times, showing how basic ingredients could provide both physical and emotional nourishment. It was proof that satisfaction didn't require complexity or expense. Sometimes the simplest combinations created the most memorable and comforting meals that children would remember fondly for decades. Sloppy Joes. Ground beef in tomato sauce, served on hamburger buns, created the ultimate kid-friendly dinner that parents could afford. The sweet and tangy sauce, made with ketchup, onions, and seasonings, appealed to young palates while stretching expensive meat. 1 pound of beef could feed a family of 6 when extended with sauce and served on inexpensive buns. The messy nature of eating them made dinner fun for children, while parents appreciated the economical protein delivery. Some families added bell peppers or celery for extra vegetables and nutritional value that sneaked nutrition into kid-approved food. Picture a mother browning ground beef while onions soften alongside, the kitchen filling with savory aromas that draw hungry children. She adds ketchup and seasonings, letting everything simmer until the flavors meld into something greater than its parts. The sauce bubbles and thickens while hamburger buns toast lightly in preparation. "Sloppy Joes," she announces, and the children cheer with genuine excitement, knowing they're in for a treat. She serves generous portions on the toasted buns, watching as her family dives in with enthusiasm despite the inevitable mess. Sauce drips onto plates, and fingers get sticky. But everyone is happy with this simple, satisfying meal. The dish represents kid-friendly cooking at its best, nutritious, economical, and fun to eat. It proved that family meals could be both practical and enjoyable, creating positive associations with dinner time that would last a lifetime. Meatloaf magic. Ground beef mixed with breadcrumbs, eggs, and seasonings, shaped into a loaf and baked until golden, represented the pinnacle of 60s family dining. The humble meatloaf could feed a large family while stretching expensive meat with inexpensive fillers like oats or crackers. Top with ketchup glaze for a beautiful finish that caramelized during baking, creating visual appeal and concentrated flavor. Some families hid vegetables like grated carrots or onions inside, sneaking nutrition into a format children would accept. Picture a mother mixing ingredients in a large bowl, her hands gentle as she combines meat with seasonings and binders. The mixture holds together perfectly as she shapes it into a neat loaf, smoothing the top before painting it with ketchup. Into the oven it goes, filling the house with the aroma of baking meat and developing glaze. The family gathers as she slices the finished loaf, revealing a tender interior with perfect texture that slices cleanly. Served alongside mashed potatoes and green beans, it creates the archetypal American dinner that satisfied everyone completely. "Can we have meatloaf again tomorrow?" the children ask, and she smiles, knowing she's created something that pleases both palate and budget. The dish represents the heart of family cooking. Simple ingredients transformed through technique and love into something that brings everyone together around the dinner table, creating memories that last a lifetime. Macaroni and cheese from scratch. Real macaroni and cheese made from actual cheese and milk represented comfort food at its finest. Long before boxed versions simplified the process, cook elbow macaroni until tender, then layer with sharp cheddar and rich milk sauce in a baking dish. The key was getting the cheese sauce smooth and creamy without separating, requiring patience and attention to technique. Top with breadcrumbs for texture contrast and bake until golden and bubbling throughout. Some families added ham or bacon for extra protein and flavor complexity that made it a complete meal. Picture a mother carefully stirring cheese sauce, watching it melt smoothly as the kitchen fills with rich, savory aromas that draw the whole family. The macaroni cooks to perfect tenderness while she prepares the cheese mixture, layering everything carefully in her favorite casserole dish. Into the oven it goes, emerging golden and bubbling with anticipation-building aromas. She serves generous portions, the fork revealing strings of melted cheese that make everyone's mouth water. "This is better than restaurant mac and cheese," the children declare with conviction, and she feels proud of the time and effort invested. The dish represents the superiority of homemade over convenience, showing how traditional techniques could create results that surpassed any shortcut. It was comfort food that required skill and patience, but delivered satisfaction that justified every minute spent in its creation, proving that some things were worth doing the traditional way. Shepherd's pie. Layered casserole with ground meat on the bottom, vegetables in the middle, and mashed potatoes on top created a complete meal in one dish. The meat layer, seasoned with onions and gravy, provided protein, while vegetables added nutrition and color. Mashed potatoes formed a fluffy blanket that baked to golden perfection on top, while staying creamy underneath. Some families used leftover roast beef or lamb. Others relied on ground beef for economy and availability. Picture a mother assembling layers in her favorite deep dish, spreading seasoned meat mixture evenly before adding vegetables. The mashed potatoes go on top, smoothed with a fork to create peaks that will brown beautifully during baking. Into the oven it goes, emerging with a golden top that conceals the savory layers beneath. She cuts into it carefully, revealing the distinct layers that make each bite a complete experience. "It's like a whole dinner in one dish," a child observes accurately, appreciating how each layer contributes different flavors and textures. The meal represents efficient cooking at its best. Multiple courses combined into one satisfying dish that feeds everyone well. It was practical food that didn't sacrifice comfort or satisfaction for convenience, showing how thoughtful layering could create something greater than the sum of its parts. Families gathered around steaming portions, each bite delivering the satisfaction of a complete meal in perfect harmony. fish sticks and everything. Frozen fish sticks became the gateway seafood for inland families, introducing ocean flavors in kid-friendly format. Bake until golden and crispy, serve with tartar sauce or ketchup for dipping that made eating fun. They paired perfectly with French fries for a restaurant-style meal at home, or with mac and cheese for ultimate comfort food combination. The breaded coating made fish appealing to children who might otherwise reject seafood completely. Some families served them in sandwiches with lettuce and mayo for a different presentation that felt more substantial. Picture children eagerly watching through the oven window as fish sticks turn golden brown, anticipating the satisfying crunch of the coating. Mom arranges them on plates with sides they love, creating a meal that feels special despite its simplicity. The coating cracks between their teeth to reveal flaky fish inside, mild and acceptable to even the pickiest eaters. "Can we have fish sticks again tomorrow?" they ask hopefully, and she's happy to oblige since they're getting protein and actually enjoying it. The dish represents the democratization of seafood, making ocean flavors accessible to families far from coasts and children suspicious of unfamiliar foods. It was practical nutrition disguised as kid food, proving that sometimes the best approach was to make healthy food appealing rather than trying to convince children to eat things they found unappetizing. Success was measured in clean plates and requests for seconds. Chicken and dumplings, whole chicken simmered until tender, then topped with fluffy dumplings that cooked in the resulting broth created the ultimate comfort meal. The chicken provided rich flavor and protein while the dumplings soaked up all the savory goodness from the cooking liquid. Vegetables like carrots, celery, and onions added nutrition and color to the one-pot meal that fed everyone well. Some families used leftover chicken and store-bought broth for quicker preparation without sacrificing flavor or satisfaction. Picture a mother dropping spoonfuls of dumpling batter into simmering chicken broth, watching them puff and steam as they cook. The kitchen fills with the aroma of herbs and chicken, creating an atmosphere of warmth and comfort that draws the family together. She ladles generous portions into bowls, each serving containing tender chicken, fluffy dumplings, and flavorful broth. "This tastes like Grandma's cooking," someone declares with appreciation, recognizing the timeless comfort of this traditional dish. The meal represents the heart of family cooking, simple ingredients transformed through patience and technique into something that nourishes both body and soul. It was food that hugged you from the inside, proving that some dishes transcended mere nutrition to become emotional comfort. Families gathered around steaming bowls, sharing not just a meal, but a moment of togetherness that created lasting memories around the dinner table. Porcupine meatballs, ground beef mixed with uncooked rice, shaped into balls and simmered in tomato sauce until the rice cooked and poked out like porcupine quills. The rice absorbed flavors while providing bulk that stretched the expensive meat further than traditional meatballs. Each ball contained a complete serving of protein and starch, making them filling and economical for large families. The tomato sauce provided moisture and flavor while the rice cooked to perfect tenderness inside the meat mixture. Picture a mother rolling the mixture into uniform balls, the raw rice visible like little white specks throughout the meat. Into simmering tomato sauce they go, the kitchen filling with the aroma of cooking beef and developing flavors. As they cook, the rice swells and pokes through the surface, creating the distinctive appearance that gives them their name. She serves them over mashed potatoes or noodles, the sauce rich and the meatballs tender with perfectly cooked rice throughout. "Why are they called porcupine meatballs?" a child asks, delighted when the appearance is explained and they can see the resemblance. The dish represents creative cooking that made practical sense, stretching meat with rice while creating something visually interesting that children found appealing. It was economical family food that didn't sacrifice fun or flavor for budget constraints, proving that with imagination, even the most practical dishes could become memorable meals that brought smiles to faces around the dinner table. Stuffed bell peppers. Bell peppers, hollowed out and filled with a mixture of ground beef, rice, and seasonings, then baked until the peppers were tender and the filling heated through. The peppers provided vegetables while the filling delivered protein and starch in one neat package that looked elegant on the plate. Some families added cheese on top for extra richness. Others included diced tomatoes in the filling for moisture and flavor. The dish represented efficient cooking, multiple food groups combined into individual servings that felt special and complete. Picture a mother carefully hollowing out bell peppers, removing seeds and membranes to create perfect vessels for the filling. She mixes ground beef with cooked rice, seasonings, and sometimes leftover vegetables for a mixture that smells savory and appealing. The stuffed peppers stand upright in a baking dish, looking almost too pretty to eat as they bake to tenderness. She serves one to each family member, the pepper soft and sweet, while the filling provides hearty satisfaction. "It's like getting a present," a child observes, appreciating how the pepper wraps around the filling like a colorful package. The meal represents thoughtful presentation, meeting practical nutrition, showing how ordinary ingredients could be arranged into something that felt special. It was family food that looked company-worthy, proving that with attention to presentation, everyday meals could feel like celebrations that honored both the food and the people sharing it around the dinner table. Beans and cornbread. Simple pinto beans, cooked with ham hock or bacon, served alongside fresh cornbread, created a complete protein combination that sustained families economically. The beans provided fiber and protein, while the cornbread contributed carbohydrates and flavor that complemented the savory legumes perfectly. Together, they formed a nutritionally complete meal that cost very little to prepare, but satisfied completely. Some families added onions or bell peppers to the beans for extra flavor. Others served them with a side of coleslaw for crunch and freshness. Picture a mother stirring a pot of beans that have been simmering slowly all day, the kitchen filled with the aroma of ham and developing flavors. Fresh cornbread emerges from the oven, golden and fragrant, ready to soak up the flavorful bean broth. She ladles generous portions of beans into bowls, serving thick slices of warm cornbread alongside for a meal that feels abundant despite its simplicity. The family gathers around the table, crumbling cornbread into their beans or eating it separately, each bite delivering satisfaction and comfort. "This is better than fancy restaurant food," someone declares, and everyone agrees, recognizing the timeless appeal of this humble combination. The meal represents Southern cooking at its most essential, simple ingredients, prepared with care and served with pride. It was food that connected families to their heritage, while providing practical nutrition that sustained them through whatever challenges life presented, proving that the best meals often came from the simplest ingredients. Fried chicken on Sunday. Sunday fried chicken represented the pinnacle of family dining, worth the expense and effort for weekly celebration. Chicken pieces dredged in seasoned flour and fried in hot oil until golden and crispy, creating something that felt special and luxurious. The crispy coating gave way to juicy meat that had been carefully seasoned and cooked to perfection through patience and skill. Some families served it with mashed potatoes and gravy made from the pan drippings. Others preferred biscuits and honey for a complete feast. Picture a mother carefully monitoring the chicken as it fries, adjusting heat to ensure even browning without burning the precious coating. The kitchen fills with the aroma of frying chicken and developing flavors that signal celebration to the entire family. Each piece emerges golden and perfect, drained briefly before being arranged on the best platter for Sunday dinner presentation. The family gathers around the table with anticipation, knowing this meal represents both financial sacrifice and culinary skill that honors the day. "Pass the chicken, please," becomes the most common phrase as everyone savors the crispy, juicy perfection that makes the week's simpler meals worthwhile. The dish represents the importance of celebration in family life, showing how special occasions deserved special food that brought everyone together. It was an investment in family joy that paid dividends in shared memories and appreciation for the cook's skill and the family's togetherness around the Sunday dinner table. Creamed tuna on toast. Canned tuna in white sauce served over toast points provided affordable protein in elegant presentation that made simple ingredients feel special. The creamy sauce masked any strong fish flavors while making the meal feel restaurant quality despite its humble origins. Add peas for color and nutrition, hard-boiled eggs for extra protein, or mushrooms for earthy depth that elevated the dish. Serve over thick toast triangles that soaked up the sauce while maintaining structural integrity for easy eating. Picture a mother stirring tuna into bubbling white sauce, the kitchen filling with comforting aromas that promised satisfaction ahead. She arranges toast points on plates with careful attention to presentation, ladling the creamy mixture over each, serving with practiced grace. The family gathers around the table, impressed by how elegant this simple meal appears, despite knowing its economical nature. "This tastes like something from a fancy restaurant," a child observes with genuine appreciation, not knowing that restaurants often served similar dishes at much higher prices. The meal represents the transformative power of technique over expensive ingredients, showing how skilled home cooks could create sophisticated flavors using pantry staples. It was proof that with the right approach, even canned fish could become something that felt luxurious and special, bringing restaurant-quality satisfaction to family dinner tables without the restaurant-quality price tag that would strain household budgets. Potato soup. Simple potato soup made with just potatoes, milk, butter, and seasonings created comfort in a bowl that warmed both body and soul. Dice potatoes and cook until tender, then mash some while leaving others chunky for textural interest that made each spoonful different. Add milk gradually until the consistency feels right, season with salt, pepper, and maybe a bay leaf for complexity. Some families added cheese for richness, others included bacon bits for smoky flavor that elevated the humble base. Picture a mother stirring a pot of simmering potatoes, the kitchen steamy with the promise of comfort food ahead. The potatoes break down slightly, creating natural thickening while maintaining enough texture to feel substantial and satisfying. She ladles generous portions into bowls, perhaps garnishing with chives or paprika for color and visual appeal. The family gathers around steaming bowls, each spoonful delivering creamy comfort that fills both stomach and spirit with warmth. "Can we have potato soup again tomorrow?" someone asks hopefully, recognizing that this simple dish somehow delivers more satisfaction than its humble ingredients suggest. The meal represents the magic of transforming basic ingredients into something greater through technique and care. It was economical food that didn't feel cheap, proving that the best comfort often came from the simplest preparations made with love and attention to detail. Ham and bean soup. Leftover ham bone simmered with dried beans created a soup that stretched expensive meat into multiple meals while developing rich, complex flavors. The bone provided both flavor and any remaining meat, while beans offered protein and fiber that made the soup filling and nutritious. Vegetables like carrots, celery, and onions added nutrition and color while contributing to the overall flavor development. Some families served it with cornbread for dipping, others preferred crackers for textural contrast that made each bite interesting. Picture a mother placing a ham bone into a large pot, covering it with water and dried beans that have soaked overnight. The kitchen fills with developing aromas as the soup simmers slowly, the beans becoming tender while absorbing all the savory ham flavors. She adds vegetables in the final hour, creating a colorful, nutritious meal that will feed the family for days. Each bowl contains tender beans, flavorful broth, and whatever meat fell off the bone during cooking. This tastes even better than the original ham dinner, someone observes accurately, recognizing how slow cooking had concentrated and developed the flavors beyond the original meal. The dish represents the practical wisdom of using every part of expensive ingredients, showing how leftovers could become something even better than the original dish. It was economical cooking that honored both the ingredient and the budget while creating satisfaction that lasted for multiple meals. Chili mac. Ground beef chili served over elbow macaroni created a hearty combination that satisfied completely while stretching meat with inexpensive pasta. The chili provided protein and bold flavors, while the macaroni absorbed the sauce and added substantial bulk that filled hungry stomachs. Top with shredded cheese for extra richness, or serve with saltine crackers for textural contrast that made eating more interesting. Some families added kidney beans to the chili for extra protein and fiber that made the meal more nutritious and filling. Picture a mother ladling chili over bowls of cooked macaroni, the kitchen filled with the aroma of cumin, chili powder, and simmering beef. The pasta soaks up the flavorful sauce while cheese melts on top, creating a meal that looks abundant and appealing. The family gathers around generous portions, each bite delivering the satisfaction of two comfort foods combined into something greater than either alone. "This is better than regular chili," a child declares with conviction, appreciating how the pasta makes each spoonful more substantial and filling. The meal represents creative combination cooking that made practical sense while delivering maximum satisfaction from minimal ingredients. It was comfort food that filled both stomach and spirit, proving that sometimes the best dishes came from combining familiar favorites into something new and exciting that pleased everyone around the dinner table. Scalloped potatoes. Sliced potatoes layered with cheese sauce and baked until tender created an elegant side dish that could become a main course when needed. The potatoes absorbed the creamy sauce while developing golden tops that provided textural contrast to the tender layers beneath. Some families added ham between the layers for protein, others included onions for extra flavor complexity that elevated the humble base. The dish represented comfort food that looked company-worthy despite its economical ingredients and straightforward preparation techniques. Picture a mother carefully layering potato slices in her favorite baking dish, each layer seasoned and covered with cheese sauce before the next addition. Into the oven it goes, emerging with a golden top that conceals the creamy, tender layers beneath the beautiful surface. She cuts into it carefully, revealing distinct layers of potato and sauce that have merged into something greater than their individual parts. The family serves themselves generous portions, each bite delivering creamy comfort with just enough cheese to feel indulgent without overwhelming the potato flavor. "These are better than restaurant scalloped potatoes," someone declares with appreciation, recognizing the superior results that come from homemade preparation and quality ingredients. The dish represents the elevation of simple ingredients through technique and patience, showing how basic foods could become something special when prepared with care and attention to detail. Chicken and rice casserole. One-dish meal combining chicken, rice, and vegetables in a creamy sauce that baked into comfort food perfection. The rice absorbed flavors while cooking, the chicken provided protein, and vegetables added nutrition and color to create a complete meal in one pan. Some families used leftover chicken for convenience, others started with raw pieces for maximum flavor development during the long, slow baking process. Top with breadcrumbs or cheese for textural contrast and visual appeal that made the finished dish look more elegant than its simple preparation suggested. Picture a mother combining ingredients in her largest casserole dish, arranging everything carefully before sliding it into the oven for the long, slow bake. The kitchen fills with developing aromas as rice cooks and flavors meld into something greater than the sum of individual parts. She serves generous portions, each spoonful containing tender chicken, perfectly cooked rice, and vegetables in creamy sauce that tastes like hours of careful preparation. "This tastes like a fancy restaurant meal," a child observes with genuine appreciation, not realizing that restaurants often charged premium prices for similar comfort food combinations. The meal represents efficient cooking that maximized both flavor and nutrition while minimizing preparation time and cleanup effort. It was practical family food that delivered satisfaction and comfort, proving that one-dish meals could provide everything needed for complete family dinner without sacrificing quality or appeal. Beef stew. Chunks of beef simmered with vegetables until everything became tender and flavorful, creating a complete meal in one pot that satisfied completely. The long, slow cooking broke down tough, inexpensive cuts of meat, while vegetables added nutrition and color to the rich, savory broth. Potatoes, carrots, and onions were standard, but some families added whatever vegetables needed to be used up from the refrigerator. Serve with crusty bread for dipping or over rice to stretch it further for larger families on tighter budgets. Picture a mother browning beef cubes in her heaviest pot, the kitchen filling with the aroma of developing flavors that promised satisfaction ahead. Vegetables go in next, then liquid for the long, slow simmer that transforms tough meat into tender perfection. Hours later, she ladles generous portions into bowls, each serving containing tender meat, perfectly cooked vegetables, and rich broth that tastes like comfort itself. The family gathers around steaming bowls, appreciating how this simple combination of ingredients has become something that nourishes both body and spirit with warmth. "This is the best stew ever," someone declares with conviction, recognizing how patience and technique had transformed basic ingredients into something extraordinary. The dish represents the power of slow cooking to develop flavors and create satisfaction that justified the time investment, showing how the best meals often required patience rather than expensive ingredients. Meatball subs. Homemade meatballs in tomato sauce, served on submarine rolls, created a satisfying meal that felt like restaurant food at home prices. The meatballs stretched ground beef with breadcrumbs and seasonings, while the sauce provided moisture and Italian flavors that made everything taste authentic. Top with mozzarella cheese and broil briefly for melted perfection that looked as good as it tasted. Some families served them with a side of potato chips for crunch. Others preferred pickles for acidic contrast that cut through the rich flavors. Picture a mother assembling sandwiches carefully, ladling hot meatballs and sauce onto split rolls before adding cheese and sliding them under the broiler. The kitchen fills with the aroma of melting cheese and warming bread as the sandwiches reach perfect doneness. She serves them immediately while everything is hot and the cheese is perfectly melted, watching her family bite into these substantial sandwiches with obvious pleasure. "These are better than the ones from the sub shop," someone declares with appreciation, recognizing superior flavor and value in homemade preparation. The meal represents how restaurant-style food could be recreated at home for fraction of the cost, while often achieving better results through fresh ingredients and careful attention. It was special occasion food that families could afford to enjoy regularly, proving that with effort and creativity, everyday dinners could feel like treats. Cabbage rolls. Ground beef and rice wrapped in cabbage leaves and simmered in tomato sauce created an elegant meal that stretched meat while providing complete nutrition. The cabbage leaves provided vitamins while the filling offered protein and carbohydrates in perfect proportion for growing families. Some families added breadcrumbs to the filling for extra bulk. Others included diced onions for flavor complexity that elevated the simple base ingredients. The dish represented European heritage adapted to American ingredients and family-sized portions that fed everyone well. Picture a mother carefully filling in blanched cabbage leaves, each roll neat and uniform as she arranges them in a baking dish. The tomato sauce goes over everything before the long, slow bake that melds flavors and tenderizes the cabbage completely. She serves them carefully, each roll maintaining its shape, while revealing the flavorful filling inside the tender cabbage wrapper. The family appreciates both the presentation and the satisfying combination of flavors that make each bite interesting and filling. "These look too fancy for regular dinner," a child observes with delight, appreciating how ordinary ingredients had been transformed into something that looked special and elegant. The meal represents the elevation of humble ingredients through technique and presentation, showing how traditional preparations could create restaurant-quality results in home kitchens while honoring cultural heritage and family traditions. Biscuits and gravy. Fresh buttermilk biscuits, smothered in sausage gravy, created the ultimate comfort breakfast that could easily become dinner when needed. The biscuits provided carbohydrates and richness, while the gravy offered protein and creamy satisfaction that filled stomachs completely. Some families added black pepper for spice. Others included sage for herbal complexity that elevated the simple base flavors. The dish represented Southern cooking at its most essential. Simple ingredients prepared with skill and served with pride and generous portions. Picture a mother rolling out biscuit dough early in the morning, the kitchen warm with the promise of comfort food ahead. Sausage browns in the skillet while biscuits bake to golden perfection, filling the house with aromas that draw the family to breakfast. She makes gravy in the same pan, incorporating all the flavorful drippings into a rich, creamy sauce that coats everything perfectly. The family gathers around plates piled high with split biscuits covered in steaming gravy, each bite delivering satisfaction that lasts until lunch. "This is better than restaurant breakfast," someone declares with conviction, recognizing superior flavor and value in homemade preparation and quality ingredients. The meal represents the importance of breakfast as family time, showing how substantial morning meals could set the tone for successful days while bringing families together around shared comfort and appreciation for good food prepared with love. Grilled cheese and tomato soup. Classic grilled cheese sandwiches served with canned tomato soup created the perfect combination of comfort foods that satisfied both children and adults. The sandwich provided protein and carbohydrates, while the soup offered vitamins and warmth that made the meal feel complete and nurturing. Some families used different cheeses for variety, others added bacon to the sandwich for extra protein and smoky flavor. The combination represented American comfort food at its most recognizable and beloved form. Picture a mother grilling sandwiches in butter while soup heats on the stove, the kitchen filling with the aroma of browning bread and melting cheese. The sandwiches emerge golden and crispy with perfectly melted interiors while the soup steams in bowls alongside. She cuts each sandwich diagonally for easier dipping, creating the classic presentation that makes both children and adults smile with anticipation. The family gathers around this simple meal, dipping crispy sandwich corners into warm soup for bites that deliver maximum comfort and satisfaction. "This is the perfect lunch," a child declares with complete sincerity, recognizing how this simple combination somehow creates more satisfaction than either component alone. The meal represents the magic of perfect pairing, showing how two simple foods could combine into something greater than their individual parts, while providing comfort that transcended mere nutrition to become emotional satisfaction and family bonding. Chicken pot pie. Chicken and vegetables in cream sauce topped with pastry crust created an elegant one-dish meal that used leftover chicken economically. The filling provided complete nutrition, while the crust added carbohydrates and visual appeal that made the meal feel special and company-worthy. Some families used store-bought pie crust for convenience. Others made their own for superior flavor and texture that elevated the finished dish. Vegetables like peas, carrots, and celery added color and nutrition while contributing to the overall flavor, complexity, and visual appeal. Picture a mother assembling the pie carefully, spooning hot filling into a deep dish before covering with pastry and sealing the edges. Into the oven it goes, emerging with a golden crust that conceals the savory filling beneath the beautiful flaky surface. She cuts into it carefully, steam escaping as the crust gives way to reveal colorful filling that looks as good as it smells. The family serves themselves generous portions, each bite containing tender chicken, perfectly cooked vegetables, and rich sauce wrapped in flaky pastry. "This looks like something from a fancy restaurant," someone observes with appreciation, recognizing how homemade preparation had created something that rivaled professional kitchen results. The dish represents the transformation of leftovers into something special, showing how technique and presentation could elevate simple ingredients into meals worthy of celebration and special occasions. Fish and chips, battered fish with French fries, brought British pub food to American family tables, creating a meal that felt like dining out at home. The crispy batter protected the fish while creating textural contrast with the tender interior, while fries provided carbohydrates and familiar flavors children loved. Some families used frozen fish sticks for convenience. Others battered fresh fish for superior flavor and texture that justified the extra effort. Serve with tartar sauce for authentic flavor, or ketchup for kid-friendly appeal that made seafood more acceptable to reluctant eaters. Picture a mother carefully battering fish fillets while oil heats for frying. The kitchen filling with anticipation for this special meal ahead. The fish emerges golden and crispy, while fries cook to perfect doneness, creating a meal that looks restaurant quality despite home preparation. She serves generous portions with lemon wedges and sauce for dipping, watching her family enjoy this treat that feels like dining out. "This is better than the fish place downtown," someone declares with conviction, recognizing superior flavor and value in homemade preparation and fresh ingredients. The meal represents how restaurant-style food could be recreated at home for fraction of the cost, while often achieving better results through careful attention and quality ingredients. It was special occasion food that families could afford to enjoy regularly. Beef and noodles. Simple egg noodles topped with tender beef in rich gravy created comfort food that satisfied completely while using economical cuts of meat. The long, slow cooking broke down tough beef into fork-tender perfection while developing rich flavors that made the simple preparation taste complex and satisfying. Some families served it over mashed potatoes for extra substance. Others preferred the noodles alone for lighter presentation that still delivered complete satisfaction. Add vegetables like carrots or peas for color and nutrition that made the meal more complete and visually appealing. Picture a mother serving generous portions over wide egg noodles, the beef so tender it falls apart at the touch of a fork. The gravy coats everything perfectly, creating a meal that looks abundant and appealing while filling the kitchen with rich, savory aromas. The family gathers around steaming plates, each bite delivering the satisfaction of slow-cooked comfort food that nourishes both body and spirit. "This is better than Sunday dinner," someone declares with appreciation, recognizing how patience and technique had transformed inexpensive ingredients into something extraordinary and memorable. The meal represents the power of slow cooking to develop flavors and create satisfaction that justified the time investment, while showing how the best meals often required patience rather than expensive ingredients or complicated techniques. Pancakes for dinner. Buttermilk pancakes served with syrup, And butter created an unconventional dinner that delighted children while providing economical nutrition when other options were limited. The pancakes offered carbohydrates and protein, while syrup added sweetness that made the meal feel like a special treat rather than budget necessity. Some families added fruit to the batter for extra nutrition. Others served bacon on the side for protein that made the meal more substantial and balanced. The dish represented the flexibility of family cooking when circumstances required creative solutions to dinner planning. Picture children's faces lighting up when Mom announces pancakes for dinner, recognizing this unusual treat that breaks conventional meal rules in the best possible way. The kitchen fills with the aroma of cooking pancakes while butter melts in the pan, creating familiar breakfast smells at an unexpected time. She serves stacks of golden pancakes with butter and syrup, watching her family dive into this simple pleasure with obvious delight and appreciation. "Can we have pancakes for dinner again tomorrow?" they ask hopefully, recognizing how this simple switch had transformed ordinary dinner into something that felt like celebration. The meal represents the importance of flexibility in family cooking, showing how breaking conventional rules could create joy and satisfaction while solving practical problems with creativity and good humor that brought families together. Meat and potato pie and beef layered with sliced potatoes and baked in pie crust created a hearty meal that combined comfort foods into something greater than individual parts. Meat provided protein, while potatoes added carbohydrates and substance that made the pie filling and satisfying for growing families. Some families added onions between the layers for extra flavor. Others included cheese for richness that elevated the simple base ingredients into something more luxurious. Pie crust held everything together while adding visual appeal that made the meal look special and company-worthy despite economical ingredients. Picture a mother layering ingredients carefully in a pie pan, seasoning each layer before adding the next for maximum flavor development throughout. Top crust goes on with careful attention to sealing and venting, creating a beautiful presentation before baking. She serves wedges that reveal distinct layers of meat and potato bound together in flaky pastry that looks as good as it tastes. The family appreciates both the presentation and the satisfying combination of familiar flavors that make each bite interesting and filling. "This looks too fancy for regular dinner," a child observes with delight, appreciating how ordinary ingredients had been transformed into something that felt special and elegant. The meal represents creative combination cooking that made practical sense while delivering restaurant-quality presentation and satisfaction from humble home ingredients. Cheeseburger casserole, ground beef layered with cheese and topped with biscuit dough, created a deconstructed cheeseburger that fed the whole family economically. The beef provided protein, while cheese added richness, and the biscuit topping offered carbohydrates that made the meal substantial and filling. Families added pickles to the meat layer for authentic burger flavor. Others included onions for extra taste complexity that elevated the simple concept. The dish represented creative interpretation of popular foods, adapted for family-style serving and economical preparation. Picture a mother layering seasoned ground beef in a baking dish, covering it with cheese before topping with dollops of biscuit dough. Into the oven it goes, emerging with a golden top that conceals the savory layers beneath the beautiful, bread-like surface. She serves generous portions, each scoop containing all the flavors of a cheeseburger in casserole form, that's easier to serve and more economical to prepare. The family gathers around this creative interpretation, appreciating how familiar flavors had been transformed into something new and interesting that still delivered the satisfaction they craved. "This tastes like cheeseburgers, but better," someone declares with conviction, recognizing how the casserole format had concentrated flavors while making the meal more substantial and family-friendly than individual sandwiches would have been. Corn chowder, Sweet corn in cream base with potatoes and onions created a soup that captured summer in every spoonful while providing substantial nutrition. The corn provided sweetness and vitamins, while potatoes added substance and cream, created richness that made the soup feel indulgent despite economical ingredients. Some families added bacon for smoky flavor, others included celery for textural contrast that made each bite more interesting. The dish represented harvest cooking that preserved seasonal flavors for year-round enjoyment and family satisfaction. A mother stirring corn kernels into simmering cream base, the kitchen filling with the aroma of sweet corn and developing flavors that promised comfort ahead. Potatoes cook until tender, while onions add depth to the overall flavor profile that makes the simple soup taste complex and sophisticated. Ladles generous portions into bowls, each serving steaming with the essence of summer corn transformed into warming comfort. Family gathers around bowls that deliver both nutrition and satisfaction while celebrating the simple pleasure of corn, transformed into something greater than its individual components. This tastes like summer in a bowl, someone observes accurately, recognizing how the soup had captured seasonal flavors and transformed them into year-round comfort. Meal represents the power of simple ingredients to create satisfaction that transcends their humble origins when prepared with care and attention to flavor development. Stuffed pork chops with pockets cut and filled with stuffing mixture, created an elegant meal that made inexpensive cuts feel special and restaurant-worthy. The stuffing added flavor and substance while keeping the pork moist during cooking, creating a dish that looked impressive despite straightforward preparation. Some families used bread stuffing. Others preferred rice-based filling for different texture and flavor profiles that personalized the dish. Serve with gravy made from pan drippings for extra richness and flavor that completed the elegant presentation and satisfied completely. Picture a mother carefully cutting pockets in thick pork chops, stuffing them with seasoned mixture before securing with toothpicks for neat presentation. To the oven they go, emerging golden and fragrant with stuffing that has absorbed all the pork flavors during cooking. She serves them with pride, each chop substantial and impressive on the plate, while pan gravy adds extra richness and visual appeal. Family cuts into their chops carefully, revealing the flavorful stuffing inside tender pork that has cooked to perfect doneness and juiciness. Look like restaurant food, one observes with appreciation, recognizing how technique and presentation had elevated simple ingredients into something worthy of special occasions. The meal represents the transformation of everyday ingredients through skill and attention, showing how home cooks could create restaurant-quality results with patience and proper technique. Chicken and gravy. Simple fried chicken served with rich pan gravy created comfort food that satisfied completely while using economical ingredients to maximum advantage. Chicken provided protein, while gravy added richness and substance that made the meal feel abundant and luxurious. Despite humble origins, some families served it over mashed potatoes for extra substance. Others preferred biscuits for soaking up the flavorful gravy that carried all the concentrated chicken flavors. The dish represented Southern cooking at its most essential and satisfying. A mother frying chicken pieces while making gravy in the same pan, incorporating all the flavorful drippings into a rich, creamy sauce that coats everything perfectly. The kitchen fills with the aroma of frying chicken and developing gravy flavors that signal comfort and satisfaction ahead. She serves generous portions with gravy ladled over everything, watching her family enjoy this simple combination that somehow delivers more satisfaction than fancier preparations. "This is the best chicken ever," someone declares with conviction, recognizing how simple preparation had created superior flavor and satisfaction through technique rather than expensive ingredients. The meal represents the power of traditional cooking methods to create satisfaction that modern shortcuts often fail to achieve, showing how patience and skill could transform basic ingredients ingredients into extraordinary comfort food that nourished both body and spirit while bringing families together around shared appreciation. Casserole. Frozen hash browns combined with cheese, cream soup, and sour cream, then baked until golden, created a side dish substantial enough to become a main course. Potatoes provided carbohydrates, while cheese and dairy added protein and richness that made the casserole filling and satisfying for growing families. Some families added ham for extra protein, others included onions for flavor complexity that elevated the simple base ingredients into something more interesting. Top with cornflakes or breadcrumbs for textural contrast that made each bite more appealing and satisfying. For a mother combining ingredients in her favorite casserole dish, the mixture looking rich and promising as she spreads it evenly before baking. The kitchen fills with developing aromas as cheese melts, and flavors meld into something greater than individual components. Serves generous portions, each scoop containing crispy edges and creamy interior that delivers both comfort and satisfaction in every bite. Family gathers around this substantial side that easily serves as a main course, appreciating how simple ingredients had been transformed into something special. This is better than restaurant hash browns, one declares with appreciation, recognizing superior flavor and texture in homemade preparation. The meal represents the elevation of simple ingredients through combination and technique, showing how basic foods could become something extraordinary when prepared with care and attention to flavor development, textural contrast. Beef stroganoff. Tender beef in sour cream sauce, served over noodles, created an elegant meal that stretched expensive meat while delivering restaurant-quality flavors at home. Sour cream sauce provided richness, while mushrooms added earthiness, and beef delivered protein in a dish that felt sophisticated despite economical preparation. Some families used less expensive cuts and cooked them longer for tenderness. Others splurged on sirloin for special occasions when the budget allowed. Serve over wide egg noodles that absorbed the flavorful sauce and created a complete, satisfying meal. Picture a mother carefully cooking beef until tender while preparing the rich sauce that would tie everything together into culinary harmony. The kitchen fills with the aroma of sautéing mushrooms and developing flavors that promise restaurant-quality results from home cooking. He serves generous portions over buttered noodles, the sauce coating everything with rich, creamy perfection that looks as good as it tastes. Family gathers around this elegant meal, appreciating how sophisticated flavors had been achieved through careful technique and quality ingredients. This is fancier than what we get at restaurants, one observes with genuine appreciation, recognizing superior flavor and value in homemade preparation. The meal represents the ability of home cooks to create restaurant-quality results through skill and attention, showing how proper technique could elevate simple ingredients into something worthy of special occasions and family celebrations. Tomato rice cooked in tomato juice instead of water created a colorful side dish that provided both carbohydrates and vegetables in one economical preparation. Tomato juice added flavor and nutrition while creating an appealing color that made plain rice more interesting and visually appealing. Some families added onions for extra flavor. Others included bell peppers for color and textural contrast that made the dish more complex and satisfying. Serve alongside any protein for a complete meal that looked abundant and appealing while staying within budget constraints. Picture a mother stirring rice into simmering tomato juice, watching it absorb the red liquid while developing rich flavor and beautiful color. The kitchen fills with the aroma of cooking tomatoes and rice, combining into something greater than either ingredient alone. She serves generous portions alongside the main course, vibrant red rice providing visual appeal and flavor that complements any protein perfectly. The family appreciates both the appearance and taste of this simple side that had transformed plain rice into something special and memorable. This rice is so much better than regular rice, Child observes with genuine enthusiasm, recognizing how the simple addition of tomato juice had created something more interesting and flavorful. The meal represents creative cooking that maximized both nutrition and visual appeal while staying within budget, showing how simple substitutions could transform everyday ingredients into something special that enhanced any meal. Bacon and eggs for dinner. Additional breakfast foods served at dinner time created an unconventional meal that delighted families while providing economical protein when other options were limited. Bacon provided smoky flavor and protein, while eggs offered complete nutrition in a combination that satisfied both children and adults completely. Some families served it with toast for extra carbohydrates. Others added hash browns for a more substantial meal that felt complete and satisfying. The dish represented the flexibility of family cooking when circumstances required creative solutions to meal planning and budget constraints. Picture children's excitement when they realize breakfast food is being served for dinner, recognizing this special treat that breaks conventional meal rules in delightful ways. The kitchen fills with familiar aromas of cooking bacon and eggs, while parents appreciate the simplicity and economy of this satisfying meal. Everyone gathers around plates of crispy bacon and perfectly cooked eggs, enjoying this simple combination that somehow feels special because of its unexpected timing. "Can we have breakfast for dinner again tomorrow?" I ask hopefully, recognizing how this role reversal had made ordinary food feel like celebration. The meal represents the importance of flexibility in family cooking, showing how breaking conventional rules could create joy and satisfaction while solving practical problems with creativity and good humor that brought families together around shared enjoyment of simple pleasures. Pickled beet eggs. Hard-boiled eggs marinated in pickled beet juice created a colorful, tangy snack that could become a light meal when served with bread and cheese. The beets provided sweetness and color, while eggs offered protein in a combination that looked as interesting as it tasted. Some families served them sliced in salads. Others enjoyed them whole as a tangy treat that satisfied without being too filling. The dish represented Pennsylvania Dutch heritage, adapted to American pantry staples and family preferences. Picture a mother placing peeled, hard-boiled eggs into jars of beet, watching them gradually turn deep purple while absorbing tangy, sweet flavors. The kitchen counter displays these colorful jars while the eggs slowly transform into something more interesting than plain boiled eggs. She serves them sliced to reveal the beautiful purple exterior surrounding bright yellow centers that create visual appeal and conversation. The family tries them curiously, discovering the tangy, sweet flavor complements the rich egg perfectly in ways they hadn't expected. "These look too pretty to eat," someone observes with delight, appreciating how simple ingredients had been transformed into something that looked almost artistic. The meal represents heritage cooking that preserved traditional flavors while creating something visually striking and delicious, showing how cultural traditions could be maintained through food while adapting to available ingredients and family preferences for maximum enjoyment and satisfaction. Creamed spinach. Fresh or frozen spinach in white sauce created a side dish that made vegetables appealing to reluctant eaters while providing essential nutrition. The cream sauce masked any strong vegetable flavors while adding richness that made the spinach feel indulgent rather than healthy. Some families added nutmeg for complexity. Others included cheese for extra richness that elevated the simple preparation into something more luxurious and appealing. Serve alongside any protein for a complete meal that provided both nutrition and satisfaction without seeming like health food. Picture a mother stirring spinach into bubbling cream sauce, the kitchen filling with rich aromas that made vegetables smell appealing rather than intimidating. The bright green spinach contrasts beautifully with white sauce, while absorbing flavors that make it more palatable to picky eaters. She serves generous portions alongside the main course, watching even reluctant vegetable eaters accept this creamy preparation that disguised healthy ingredients. "This spinach actually tastes good," child admits with surprise, recognizing how the cream sauce had transformed something they usually avoided into something enjoyable. The meal represents the art of making healthy food appealing, showing how proper preparation could overcome resistance to nutritious ingredients while ensuring families got essential vitamins and minerals. It was proof that vegetables didn't have to taste like punishment when prepared with skill and attention to flavor development that prioritized both nutrition and pleasure. Deviled ham spread, canned deviled ham, mixed with mayonnaise and seasonings, created a sandwich filling that stretched expensive protein while providing rich flavor that satisfied completely. The ham provided protein, while mayo added creaminess, and seasonings enhanced the overall flavor profile in ways that made simple ingredients taste more complex. Some families added pickle relish for crunch, others included mustard for tangy heat that elevated the simple base into something more interesting. Serve on crackers for appetizers, or use in sandwiches for substantial meals that pleased both children and adults. Picture a mother mixing ingredients in a bowl, tasting and adjusting seasonings until the flavor balance feels perfect for her family's preferences. The kitchen fills with the aroma of ham and spices combining while she prepares crackers or bread for serving this versatile spread. She arranges everything on a platter, creating an appetizing presentation that makes simple ingredients look appealing and abundant despite economical origins. Family gathers around this simple but satisfying spread, appreciating how ordinary ingredients had been transformed into something that felt special and indulgent. This tastes like party food, someone observes with delight, recognizing how careful preparation had elevated everyday ingredients into something worthy of special occasions. The meal represents the transformation of simple ingredients through technique and seasoning, showing how basic foods could become something memorable and satisfying when prepared with attention to flavor, development, and presentation. Juice. Chicken salad sandwiches. Leftover chicken mixed with mayonnaise, celery, and seasonings created sandwich filling that transformed yesterday's dinner into today's lunch while minimizing food waste. The chicken provided protein, while vegetables added crunch and texture, while mayonnaise bound everything together into creamy perfection that satisfied completely. Some families added grapes for sweetness, others included nuts for extra crunch that made each bite more interesting and substantial. Serve on soft bread for comfort, or toast for textural contrast that elevated the simple sandwich into something more sophisticated and appealing. Picture a mother dicing leftover chicken while preparing vegetables for mixing, the kitchen filled with the promise of transforming yesterday's meal into something fresh and new. She combines ingredients carefully, tasting and adjusting seasonings until the mixture achieves perfect balance of flavors and textures. The sandwiches are assembled with care, creating substantial meals that look appealing and taste even better than the original chicken dinner. The family gathers around these transformed leftovers, appreciating how yesterday's protein had become today's satisfying lunch through creativity and skill. This is better than buying lunch meat, someone observes with appreciation, recognizing superior flavor and value in homemade preparation from quality ingredients. The meal represents the practical wisdom of using leftovers creatively, showing how yesterday's dinner could become something even better through thoughtful preparation and seasoning that honored both the original ingredient and the family budget. Egg salad sandwiches. Hard-boiled eggs mashed with mayonnaise and seasonings created protein-rich sandwich filling that cost very little while satisfying completely and nutritiously. The eggs provided complete protein while mayo added richness and seasonings enhanced flavors in ways that made simple ingredients taste more complex and interesting. Some families added mustard for tang, others included paprika for color and mild spice that elevated the basic preparation into something more appealing. Serve on soft bread with lettuce for freshness, or crackers for a lighter presentation that worked for lunches or snacks. Picture a mother peeling hard-boiled eggs while preparing seasonings for mixing, the kitchen organized and efficient as she transforms basic ingredients into satisfying meal components. She mashes everything together carefully, achieving the perfect texture that spreads easily while maintaining some substance for satisfying bite. The sandwiches are assembled with attention to proportion and presentation, creating meals that look appealing despite their economical nature and simple preparation. The family enjoys these protein-rich sandwiches sandwiches, appreciating how eggs had been transformed into something that felt substantial and satisfying rather than just basic nutrition. "These taste better than the ones from the deli," a child declares with conviction, recognizing superior flavor in homemade preparation. The meal represents the elevation of simple ingredients through proper technique, showing how basic foods could become something memorable when prepared with care and attention to detail. Fried green tomatoes. Unripe tomatoes sliced and fried in cornmeal batter created a southern delicacy that turned garden surplus into something special and memorable. Green tomatoes provided tartness, while cornmeal coating added crunch and substance that made them satisfying despite being vegetables. Some families served them with ranch dressing for cooling contrast. Others preferred them plain to appreciate the natural, tangy flavor that made them unique. The dish represented resourceful cooking that used what was available rather than letting anything go to waste in the garden or kitchen. Picture a mother slicing firm green tomatoes while heating oil for frying, the kitchen filling with anticipation for this special treat that transformed unripe vegetables into delicacy. The tomatoes emerge golden and crisp, the cornmeal coating providing textural contrast to the tender, tangy interior that burst with concentrated flavor. She serves them immediately while they're hot and crispy, watching her family discover the unique pleasure of this southern specialty that few had experienced before. "These don't taste like regular tomatoes," someone observes with delight, appreciating how the unripe fruit had been transformed into something completely different and special. The meal represents regional cooking that made virtue of necessity, showing how local ingredients and traditional techniques could create distinctive flavors that celebrated both place and season while making the most of available resources through creativity and skill. Bread pudding. Stale bread transformed into dessert through eggs, milk, and sugar created a sweet ending that wasted nothing while satisfying completely and economically. The bread provided substance, while custard base added richness and sweetness that made the simple dessert feel indulgent despite humble origins. Some families added raisins for texture, others included vanilla for enhanced flavor that elevated the basic preparation into something more sophisticated and appealing. Serve warm with cream or cold with fruit for different presentations that suited various occasions and preferences. Picture a mother tearing stale bread into pieces while preparing custard base, the kitchen filled with the promise of transforming waste into something delicious and memorable. The mixture bakes slowly, filling the house with aromas of vanilla and baking custard that signal comfort and satisfaction ahead. She serves generous portions while it's still warm, watching her family enjoy this simple dessert that somehow tastes better than expensive alternatives. "This is the best dessert ever," someone declares with genuine enthusiasm, recognizing how humble ingredients had been transformed into something truly special and satisfying. The meal represents the magic of transforming leftovers into luxury, showing how yesterday's bread could become today's dessert through technique and creativity that honored both ingredients and budget, while creating genuine pleasure and satisfaction for the whole family around the dinner table. Rice pudding. Leftover rice, transformed into creamy dessert through milk, eggs, and sugar, created a sweet treat that wasted nothing while providing comfort and satisfaction. The rice provided texture, while custard base added richness and sweetness that made the simple dessert feel luxurious, despite economical ingredients. Some families added cinnamon for warmth. Others included raisins for chewy contrast that made each bite more interesting and complex. Serve warm for comfort or cold for refreshment, adapting the presentation to suit different seasons and family preferences. Picture a mother stirring leftover rice into simmering milk while adding sweeteners and spices, the kitchen filling with developing aromas that promised comfort ahead. The mixture thickens slowly, transforming simple ingredients into something that feels indulgent and special despite its humble origins and practical preparation. She serves generous portions in bowls, each serving delivering creamy comfort that satisfies both sweet tooth and desire for nurturing food. The family gathers around this simple dessert, appreciating how yesterday's starch had become today's treat through patience and proper technique. "This tastes like Grandma's cooking," someone observes with appreciation, recognizing the timeless comfort that comes from traditional preparation of simple ingredients. The meal represents the transformation of leftovers into luxury through technique and care, showing how basic ingredients could become something memorable when prepared with attention to texture and flavor development that honored both tradition and practicality. Hamburger stroganoff, ground beef in sour cream sauce served over noodles, created an economical version of the elegant Russian dish that satisfied families without expensive ingredients. The ground beef stretched further than traditional cuts, while sour cream sauce provided richness that made the meal feel luxurious despite budget constraints. Mushrooms added earthiness, and onions contributed sweetness that enhanced the overall flavor profile while creating something that tasted sophisticated and restaurant-worthy. Serve over wide egg noodles that absorbed the creamy sauce for maximum satisfaction in every bite. Picture a mother browning ground beef while preparing vegetables and cream sauce, the kitchen filling with savory aromas that promised something special despite economical ingredients. The sauce develops richness as sour cream combines with pan drippings, creating something that looks and tastes far more expensive than its simple components suggest. She serves generous portions over buttered noodles, watching her family enjoy this elegant meal that rivals anything from fancy restaurants. "This tastes like the expensive place downtown," someone observes with appreciation, recognizing how home cooking had achieved restaurant-quality results through technique rather than premium ingredients. The meal represents the democratization of elegant cuisine, showing how working-class families could enjoy sophisticated flavors through creative adaptation of traditional recipes that honored both the original dish and family budget constraints while delivering genuine luxury and satisfaction. Porcupine meatballs, ground beef mixed with uncooked rice, shaped into balls and simmered in tomato sauce until the rice cooked and poked out like porcupine quills. The rice absorbed flavors while providing bulk that stretched the expensive meat further than traditional meatballs. Each ball contained a complete serving of protein and starch, making them filling and economical for large families. The tomato sauce provided moisture and flavor while the rice cooked to perfect tenderness inside the meat mixture. Picture a mother rolling the mixture into uniform balls, the raw rice visible like little white specks throughout the meat. Into simmering tomato sauce they go, the kitchen filling with the aroma of cooking beef and developing flavors. As they cook, the rice swells and pokes through the surface, creating the distinctive appearance that gives them their name. She serves them over mashed potatoes or noodles, the sauce rich and the meatballs tender with perfectly cooked rice throughout. "Why are they called porcupine meatballs?" a child asks, delighted when the appearance is explained and they can see the resemblance. The dish represents creative cooking that made practical sense, stretching meat with rice while creating something visually interesting that children found appealing. It was economical family food that didn't sacrifice fun or flavor for budget constraints, proving that with imagination, even the most practical dishes could become memorable meals that brought smiles to faces around the dinner table. Tuna patties, canned tuna mixed with breadcrumbs and eggs, formed into patties and fried until golden, created an economical protein source that pleased even reluctant fish eaters. The breadcrumbs provided structure, while eggs bound everything together into patties that held their shape perfectly during cooking. Some families added onions for flavor, others included celery for crunch that made each bite more interesting and substantial. Serve with tartar sauce or ketchup for familiar flavors that made seafood more acceptable to children. Picture a mother carefully shaping tuna mixture into uniform patties, the kitchen organized as she prepares to transform canned fish into something that resembled fresh seafood. The patties sizzle in hot oil, developing golden crusts while staying tender inside, creating textures that made tuna feel like real fish rather than canned protein. She serves them hot from the pan with lemon wedges and sauce for dipping, watching even fish skeptics discover that properly prepared tuna could be delicious. "These taste like fish sticks, but better," a child observes with surprise, recognizing how home preparation had created superior results compared to frozen alternatives. The meal represents the transformation of humble ingredients through technique, showing how canned fish could become something special when treated with respect and proper preparation. It was proof that with creativity and skill, even the most basic pantry staples could become family favorites that satisfied both nutritional needs and taste preferences. Cabbage and noodles. Simple egg noodles tossed with sautéed cabbage and onions created a filling side dish that could easily become a main course when budgets were tight. The cabbage provided vitamins and fiber, while noodles added carbohydrates that made the combination substantial and satisfying for growing families. Some families added bacon for smokiness, others included caraway seeds for distinctive flavor that honored Eastern European heritage and traditional preparations. The dish represented immigrant cooking adapted to American ingredients and family-sized portions. Picture a mother shredding cabbage while water boils for noodles, the kitchen filling with the promise of simple but satisfying food that would feed everyone well. The cabbage wilts and sweetens as it cooks, transforming from raw vegetable into something tender and appealing that even children would accept. She combines everything in one large pan, tossing noodles with vegetables until perfectly coated and heated through for optimal flavor distribution. The family gathers around generous portions, appreciating how simple ingredients had been transformed into something that felt complete and satisfying, despite its humble nature. "This is better than just plain noodles," someone observes accurately, recognizing how vegetables had enhanced rather than complicated the basic starch. The meal represents practical cooking that made vegetables acceptable while stretching carbohydrates into something more nutritious, showing how traditional combinations could create satisfaction that honored both heritage and practical necessity for feeding families well on limited budgets. Spanish rice. Rice cooked with tomatoes, onions, and peppers created a colorful side dish that brought international flavors to American family tables economically and appealingly. The vegetables provided nutrition and vibrant color, while rice offered filling carbohydrates that made the dish substantial enough to serve as a main course. Some families added ground beef for protein, others included corn for sweetness and textural contrast that made each bite more interesting. The dish represented the adaptation of ethnic flavors to American ingredients and family preferences. Picture a mother sautéing vegetables while rice cooks nearby, the kitchen filling with the aroma of tomatoes and peppers, combining into something that smells exotic and appealing. The ingredients merge into something colorful and fragrant, creating a dish that looks as good as it tastes, while providing both nutrition and visual appeal. She serves generous portions alongside any protein, watching her family discover that rice could be much more than just a plain starch when prepared with vegetables and seasonings. "This rice has so much flavor," a child observes with genuine appreciation, recognizing how simple additions had transformed a basic ingredient into something special. The meal represents the democratization of international cuisine, showing how families could enjoy exotic flavors using familiar ingredients and simple techniques that brought the world to their dinner tables while staying within budget and creating satisfaction that broadened culinary horizons. Stuffed cabbage rolls. Ground beef and rice wrapped in cabbage leaves and simmered in tomato sauce created an elegant meal that stretched meat while providing complete nutrition in attractive presentation. The cabbage leaves provided vitamins, while the filling offered protein and carbohydrates in perfect proportion for growing families. Some families added breadcrumbs to the filling for extra bulk. Others included diced onions for flavor complexity that elevated the simple base ingredients. The dish represented European heritage adapted to American ingredients and family-sized portions that fed everyone well. Picture a mother carefully filling in blanched cabbage leaves, each roll neat and uniform as she arranges them in a baking dish with practiced precision. The tomato sauce goes over everything before the long, slow bake that melds flavors and tenderizes the cabbage completely while developing rich, complex tastes. She serves them carefully, each roll maintaining its shape while revealing the flavorful filling inside the tender cabbage wrapper that looks elegant and appealing. The family appreciates both the presentation and the satisfying combination of flavors that make each bite interesting and filling without overwhelming young palates. "These look too fancy for regular dinner," a child observes with delight, appreciating how ordinary ingredients had been transformed into something that looked special and restaurant-worthy. The meal represents the elevation of humble ingredients through technique and presentation, showing how traditional preparations could create impressive results while honoring cultural heritage and family tradition. Creamed chipped beef. Dried beef in white sauce, served over toast, created a protein-rich meal that stretched expensive meat while providing familiar flavors that satisfied completely. The dried beef was economical and shelf-stable, while cream sauce added richness that made the simple meal feel more substantial and luxurious. Some families served it over biscuits for southern flair. Others preferred toast points for traditional presentation that honored military heritage and practical preparation. The dish represented wartime cooking that continued to serve families well during peacetime budget constraints. Picture a father preparing this familiar meal while sharing stories of military service. The kitchen filling with aromas that brought back memories of Army chow halls and shared experiences. The sauce thickens perfectly, while dried beef softens and releases its concentrated flavors into the creamy base that coats everything with rich satisfaction. He serves generous portions over toast, watching his family enjoy this simple but filling meal that connected them to his service experience and broader American military tradition. "This tastes like what soldiers eat," a child observes with interest, appreciating the connection to something larger than their family dinner table. The meal represents the continuation of military traditions in civilian life, showing how service members brought practical cooking knowledge home to feed their families economically, while maintaining connections to shared experiences that shaped American food culture during and after wartime. Fried chicken livers. Chicken livers coated in seasoned flour and fried until golden created an economical protein source that provided essential nutrients while satisfying those who appreciated organ meat. The livers were incredibly cheap, while providing iron and vitamins that growing children needed for proper development and health. Some families served them with cream gravy. Others preferred them plain to appreciate the rich, distinctive flavor that set them apart from regular chicken. The dish represented nose-to-tail eating that wasted nothing while providing superior nutrition. Picture a mother carefully cleaning livers while explaining their nutritional value to curious children, the kitchen filled with the promise of transforming humble organ meat into something delicious. The livers fry quickly, developing golden crusts while staying tender inside, creating textures that made them appealing even to those who might otherwise avoid organ meat. She serves them hot with gravy or plain, watching family members discover that properly prepared organ meat could be both nutritious and tasty when cooked with skill. "These taste different but good," someone observes thoughtfully, recognizing new flavors while appreciating the care taken in preparation. The meal represents practical nutrition that prioritized health over convenience, showing how knowledgeable cooks could prepare every part of the animal to provide maximum nutrition for their families while respecting traditional foodways that wasted nothing and honored the sacrifice of the animal. Corn fritters. Sweet corn kernels in pancake batter, fried into golden rounds, created a versatile dish that could serve as side dish or light meal depending on family needs. The corn provided sweetness and nutrition, while batter added substance that made the fritters filling and satisfying for hungry children and adults alike. Some families served them with syrup for breakfast, others preferred them savory as a dinner side that complemented any protein beautifully. The dish represented seasonal cooking that celebrated corn harvest while creating something special from garden surplus. Picture a mother cutting fresh corn from cobs while preparing batter, the kitchen filled with the sweet aroma of summer corn that promised delicious results ahead. The fritters sizzle in hot oil, developing golden crusts, while corn kernels burst with concentrated sweetness that makes each bite a celebration of the season. She serves them hot from the pan, watching her family enjoy these simple but delicious treats that capture the essence of summer in every golden bite. These taste like summer, a child observes accurately, recognizing how fresh corn had been transformed into something that felt special and memorable despite simple preparation. The meal represents seasonal celebration through food, showing how families could honor the harvest while creating dishes that brought joy and satisfaction to the dinner table, proving that the best meals often came from the freshest, most local ingredients when prepared with appreciation for nature's bounty. Potato cakes. Leftover mashed potatoes formed into patties and fried until golden created a way to transform yesterday's side dish into something new and exciting. The potatoes provided familiar comfort, while frying added textural contrast that made them feel like completely different food rather than reheated leftovers. Some families added onions for flavor, others included cheese for richness that elevated the simple base into something more substantial and appealing. The dish represented practical cooking that wasted nothing while creating variety from repetition. Picture a mother shaping cold mashed potatoes into uniform patties while explaining how leftovers could become something even better than the original dish through creativity and technique. The patties develop golden crusts in hot oil while staying creamy inside, creating textural contrasts that made familiar flavors feel new and exciting again. She serves them hot from the pan with butter or sour cream, watching her family discover that leftovers didn't have to be boring when treated with imagination and skill. These are better than regular mashed potatoes, someone declares with conviction, recognizing how simple transformation had created superior results through proper technique. The meal represents the creative use of leftovers that honored both ingredients and budget, while proving that yesterday's food could become today's treat through understanding of basic cooking principles. Mock chicken salad. Canned tuna prepared with celery, mayonnaise, and seasonings to resemble chicken salad created an economical protein source that pleased those who couldn't afford real chicken. The tuna provided complete protein, while preparation techniques made it taste remarkably similar to more expensive poultry that families might not be able to afford regularly. Some families added pickle relish for crunch. Others included hard-boiled eggs for extra protein that made the dish more substantial and filling. The dish represented creative cooking that made affordable ingredients feel luxurious through proper preparation. Picture a mother carefully preparing tuna while explaining how proper seasoning could transform one protein into something that resembled another more expensive option. The mixture develops familiar chicken salad flavors through careful addition of seasonings and vegetables that mask the fish taste while creating something appealing to the whole family. She serves it on crackers or bread, watching family members discover that this economical substitute actually tasted better than they expected, despite knowing its true nature. "This really does taste like chicken salad," someone observes with genuine surprise, recognizing how skilled preparation had achieved remarkable transformation of humble ingredients. The meal represents the art of substitution in family cooking, showing how creative cooks could provide familiar flavors using whatever proteins they could afford while maintaining family satisfaction and creating meals that felt abundant despite economic constraints that required constant creativity and resourcefulness. Green bean casserole. Fresh or canned green beans baked with cream of mushroom soup and topped with crispy fried onions created a side dish that became a family favorite. The beans provided vegetables while cream soup added richness that made them more appealing to reluctant vegetable eaters, especially children who might otherwise avoid green foods. Some families used fresh beans for better texture. Others relied on canned for convenience that made weeknight preparation faster and easier. The crispy onion topping provided textural contrast that made each bite more interesting and satisfying. Picture a mother assembling the casserole while the oven preheats. The kitchen filled with the promise of transforming simple vegetables into something that would please even picky eaters. The casserole bakes until bubbly and golden, developing aromas that make vegetables smell appealing rather than intimidating to young family members. She serves generous portions alongside the main course, watching even vegetable skeptics accept this creamy preparation that disguised healthy ingredients in familiar, comforting flavors. "These green beans actually taste good," a child admits with surprise, recognizing how the cream sauce and crispy topping had made vegetables enjoyable rather than dutiful. Chicken and dumplings. Whole chicken simmered until tender, then topped with fluffy dumplings that cooked in the resulting broth, created the ultimate comfort meal that stretched one bird into dinner for 6. The chicken provided rich flavor and protein, while the dumplings soaked up all the savory goodness from the cooking liquid, creating something that felt abundant despite economical ingredients. Vegetables like carrots, celery, and onions added nutrition and color to the one-pot meal that fed everyone well without requiring multiple dishes or complicated preparation. Some families used leftover chicken for quicker preparation. Others started with raw pieces for maximum flavor development during the long, slow cooking process. Picture a mother dropping spoonfuls of dumpling batter into simmering chicken broth, watching them puff and steam as they cook, while the kitchen fills with aromas of herbs and chicken. She ladles generous portions into bowls, each serving containing tender chicken, fluffy dumplings, and flavorful broth that tastes like hours of careful preparation and genuine love. The family gathers around steaming bowls, appreciating how this simple combination of ingredients had become something that nourished both body and soul with warmth and comfort. Meatloaf with oats. Ground beef mixed with oats instead of breadcrumbs created a more economical version of the classic family dish, while providing additional nutrition and fiber. The oats absorbed moisture and flavor while stretching the expensive meat further than traditional preparation, making it possible to feed larger families on smaller budgets. Some families added vegetables like grated carrots for nutrition. Others included cheese for richness that elevated the humble base into something more substantial and appealing. Top with ketchup glaze for traditional presentation that pleased both children and adults. Picture a mother mixing meat with oats while explaining how this substitution would make the meatloaf even better than the traditional version through improved nutrition and economy. The loaf bakes slowly, developing rich color and aroma, while the oats create tender texture that holds together perfectly for clean slicing and attractive presentation. She serves generous slices with pride, watching her family discover that this economical version actually tasted better than expensive alternatives made with premium ingredients. "This meatloaf is so good," someone declares with genuine enthusiasm, recognizing superior flavor and texture despite knowing about the ingredient substitution that had made it more affordable. The meal represents intelligent substitution that improved rather than compromised results, showing how creative cooks could enhance traditional dishes while saving money and providing better nutrition through understanding of ingredient properties and their effects on final results. Baked bean sandwiches, canned baked beans, heated and served on bread, created a simple meal that provided protein and carbohydrates in one economical package that satisfied hungry children. The beans offered both protein and fiber, while bread provided familiar comfort that made the combination feel substantial rather than just a snack. Some families added cheese for richness. Others preferred them plain to appreciate the sweet, smoky flavors that made beans appealing even to picky eaters. The dish represented practical eating that maximized nutrition while minimizing cost and preparation time. Picture a mother heating beans while toasting bread, the kitchen filled with the familiar aroma of molasses and tomato sauce that promised comfort and satisfaction ahead. The warm beans nestle perfectly between bread slices, creating something that looks simple but tastes surprisingly satisfying and filling for such basic ingredients. She serves them with potato chips or pickles for a complete meal that feels substantial despite its humble nature and economical preparation. The family enjoys these simple sandwiches, appreciating how familiar ingredients had been combined into something that felt like a real meal rather than emergency food. "These are actually really good," a child observes with pleasant surprise, recognizing how the combination had created something greater than either component alone. The meal represents the magic of simple combinations that created satisfaction from basic ingredients, showing how practical cooking could provide both nutrition and comfort while staying within the tightest budget constraints. Fried apples. Fresh apples, sliced and fried with butter and sugar, created a side dish that complemented pork while providing fruit that children would actually eat with enthusiasm. The apples caramelized beautifully while maintaining some texture, creating something that tasted like dessert but provided essential vitamins and fiber that growing bodies needed. Some families added cinnamon for warmth. Others included a splash of vinegar for complexity that balanced the sweetness and enhanced the natural apple flavors. The dish represented seasonal cooking that celebrated autumn harvest while making fruit appealing to reluctant eaters. Picture a mother slicing fresh apples while butter melts in her favorite skillet, the kitchen filling with the promise of transforming simple fruit into something that would please even those who usually avoided fresh produce. The apples develop golden color and concentrated flavors as they cook, becoming tender while retaining enough structure to provide satisfying texture that children appreciated. She serves them warm, alongside pork chops or ham, watching her family enjoy this simple preparation that made fruit feel like a special treat rather than healthy obligation. "These apples taste like candy," a child declares with delight, recognizing how cooking had concentrated natural sweetness while creating textures that made fruit irresistible and appealing. The meal represents the transformation of healthy ingredients into treats, showing how proper preparation could make nutritious foods appealing while providing essential vitamins disguised as something that felt indulgent and special. Creamed corn. Fresh or canned corn kernels, simmered in milk and butter, created a rich side dish that made vegetables feel luxurious while providing essential nutrition economically. The cream sauce transformed humble corn into something that felt indulgent, while the natural sweetness appealed to children who might otherwise avoid vegetables completely. Some families added flour for thicker consistency, others preferred it lighter to let the corn flavor shine through without being overwhelmed by dairy richness. The dish represented practical cooking that made healthy food irresistible through proper preparation. Picture a mother stirring corn kernels into simmering milk while explaining how cream could make any vegetable more appealing to family members who usually avoided healthy food. The mixture develops rich consistency and concentrated flavors that make simple corn taste like restaurant-quality side dish, despite humble origins and economical preparation. She serves generous portions alongside any protein, watching even vegetable skeptics accept this creamy preparation that disguised nutrition in familiar, comforting flavors that pleased everyone at the table. "This corn is so much better than regular corn," someone observes with genuine appreciation, recognizing how the cream sauce had elevated simple vegetables into something that felt special and indulgent. The meal represents the art of making healthy food, appealing through technique and enrichment, showing how skilled preparation could overcome resistance to nutritious ingredients while ensuring families got essential vitamins and minerals disguised as comfort food that satisfied both nutritional needs and taste preferences. Poor man's steak ground beef, formed into steak-shaped patties and fried until crispy, created an economical substitute for expensive cuts that satisfied cravings for real meat. The ground beef was affordable while shaping and cooking techniques created textures that resembled actual steak enough to please families who couldn't afford premium cuts. Some families served it with gravy for authenticity, others preferred it plain to appreciate the concentrated beef flavors that developed through proper browning and seasoning. The dish represented creative cooking that provided psychological satisfaction, along with physical nutrition. Picture a father carefully shaping ground beef into steak-like portions, while explaining how proper technique could make humble ingredients feel special and substantial for the family dinner. The patties develop beautiful crusts while staying tender inside, creating textures that reminded everyone of more expensive cuts while delivering satisfaction that justified the effort and creativity. He serves them with pride alongside potatoes and vegetables, watching his family enjoy this economical substitute that somehow felt like a real steak dinner, despite knowing its true nature. "This tastes almost like real steak," a child observes with appreciation, recognizing how skilled preparation had created something that satisfied both hunger and desire for special food. The meal represents the power of technique to create psychological satisfaction along with physical nutrition, showing how creative presentation could make economical ingredients feel luxurious while providing the comfort of familiar flavors and textures. Biscuits and honey, fresh buttermilk biscuits served with honey, created a simple meal that could work for breakfast, lunch, or dinner when other options were limited by budget constraints. The biscuits provided carbohydrates and comfort, while honey added natural sweetness that made the combination feel like a treat rather than emergency food. Some families churned their own butter for authenticity. Others relied on store-bought for convenience that didn't compromise the essential comfort of this traditional combination. The dish represented Southern hospitality that created satisfaction from basic ingredients through skill and care. Picture a grandmother pulling hot biscuits from the oven while honey waits in a special jar, the kitchen filled with the aroma of fresh bread that signals comfort and satisfaction ahead. The biscuits split open to reveal steamy, flaky interiors that practically beg for honey and butter, while providing textural satisfaction that filled both stomach and spirit. She serves them warm with ceremony and pride, watching her family appreciate this simple combination that somehow delivered more satisfaction than expensive alternatives made with fancy ingredients. "These are the best biscuits in the world," someone declares with genuine conviction, recognizing superior flavor and texture that could only come from homemade preparation using traditional techniques and quality ingredients. The meal represents the pinnacle of comfort food that honored tradition while providing genuine satisfaction through skill and attention to detail that transformed basic ingredients into something worthy of celebration and family pride. Apple brown, Betty Simple dessert, layering sliced apples with breadcrumbs and butter, created a comforting end to any meal while using leftover bread economically and deliciously. The apples provided natural sweetness and familiar flavor, while breadcrumbs added texture that made the dessert feel substantial rather than just fruit. Some families added cinnamon for warmth. Others included nuts for crunch that enhanced both flavor and textural interest in every bite. The dessert represented practical cooking that wasted nothing while creating genuine satisfaction from humble ingredients and careful technique. Picture a mother layering ingredients in her favorite baking dish, the kitchen filling with the aroma of cinnamon and apples combining with butter for promise of comfort ahead. The dessert bakes slowly, developing golden color and tender texture, while apple juices bubble up around crispy breadcrumb topping that looks rustic and appealing to hungry family members. She serves generous portions while it's still warm, watching her family enjoy this simple dessert that somehow captures the essence of home cooking in every bite. "This tastes like Grandma's house," someone observes with genuine warmth, recognizing how traditional flavors had created emotional comfort that transcended mere dessert to become memory and connection to family heritage. The meal represents the heart of family cooking that honored both ingredients and tradition while creating satisfaction that lasted beyond the final bite, proving that the best foods often came from the simplest preparations made with love and attention to both flavor and family happiness. These 100 meals tell the story of American families who made much from little, turning necessity into comfort and stretching every dollar without sacrificing love. They remind us that good food doesn't require expensive ingredients, just creativity, care, and the wisdom to make home wherever we gather around the table. If this journey through forgotten flavors brought back memories or sparked your curiosity about simpler times, show your appreciation by hitting that like button and subscribing for more stories that celebrate the ingenuity of everyday cooks who fed their families with pride, proving that the best meals often come from the humblest ingredients when prepared with love and served with gratitude.